green polygon, that represents a wetland, and that it's bisecting that 200 feet. That is an associated wetland. In the case of a wetland like that, where it's bifurcated, shoreline jurisdiction bumps out. In the city, on the west corner of the Columbia River as it starts to head north, there's a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers property just past Chiawana Park. And in that area, there's a very extensive wetland. And so in that area, shoreline jurisdiction bumps out quite a ways and follows the edge of that wetland, and then it bumps back in once the slope gets a little steeper and heads up from there. There aren't any lakes in the city of Pasco that are in shoreline jurisdiction, so we're just looking at the Snake and the Columbia River. Floodways are also included, and then we talked about associated wetlands. So one of the things that is unique about the Shoreline Master Program is that in one set of regulations, you have to balance environmental protection, public access, and water-oriented uses. You think about like city zoning. City zoning is focused on development, right? How does development happen? Then they have a critical areas code that is how you protect the wetlands and steep slopes and fish and wildlife habitat. And Aaron and the other planning members, planning department staff, have to then take those regulations and kind of put them together so that it works, so that you comply with the zoning and you protect wetlands and other resources through the critical areas code. In the Shoreline Master Program, it's all blended together as one program. And so it can be a little challenging to try and meet all the different requirements and achieve that balance. We've tried to develop a balanced program. Hopefully it's working fairly well for the city. So what is included in a Shoreline Master Program? There's a goals and policies section. So what are we trying to accomplish with the program in a lot of different areas? So think about, the environmental protection, public access, and allowing for uses. There are goals related to each of those and policies as well. And then there's regulations. Regulations for specific areas. What we did is we took the whole shoreline for the city and we divided it up into reaches and then placed environment designations on those reaches. Some are industrial, some are residential, some are natural or open space conservation areas. And so we've applied those. And then there are specific regulations. There are general regulations. Critical areas also, our regulations are also incorporated in the Shoreline Master Program, the wetlands, the steep slopes. The SMP also has, like enforcement provisions and ways that you can appeal or get conditional uses allowed, that type of thing. So there's like administrative provisions as well as Shoreline Master Program. So one of the things that we're doing so that it's so you don't have to look through 170 pages of regulation and goals and policies information is developing this user guide. So this is what it looks like. You can go to the website. It's a nice web version. It's only about 40 pages or so, and there's lots of pictures and then narrative that goes along with it. I'm just showing you a few highlights out of the document. Please go to the website and see the details, and hopefully it answers many of your questions. All of the environment designations are an appendix in the back of this user guide. So you can see where you live or where your shoreline area is or the shoreline that you care about in the city and what the environment designation is. And then there's a use table also that shows you like what's allowed in those areas, what's not allowed, what might be allowed under a conditional use. All of that information is summarized in a couple appendices to this document. So if you have an existing property and that property was maybe built, early 80s or whatever, and you're closer to the shoreline area, the edge of the water, than maybe you would be able to be today. This shows you how you can still make modifications to your property. One thing that's important to understand, a term that is important to understand for the Shoreline Master Program is no net loss of ecological function. So when we have a development on the shoreline, the development has to comply with no net loss of ecological function. So if you take out, like, if you want to add to your property, like on the vegetation enhancement on the right side, you can see there that the house, which is representing the yellow, is closer than the shoreline buffer would normally allow, and they wanted to add on. Well, you can't go forward closer to the river, but you can go backwards. But you have to enhance vegetation to offset the loss of that buffer, right? That buffer is there for a function, to provide certain functions. Provides habitat, water quality benefits, etc. And so the enhancement would have to occur to be able to, so in other words, you have to mitigate for the impacts. And that achieves no net loss of ecological function. And so kind of any development in the shorelines, if there's going to be an impact to habitat or other functions, then there's going to be an offsetting mitigation. And you try to do it on your own property if you can. If you can't, then you try to work with the city. Maybe there's an offsite opportunity area as well. So anyway, that's kind of how existing uses and expansions of those existing uses work in just one example. There are buffers. So here are the different environment designations. So we have aquatic, which is from the vegetation waterward, right? So in the water. We have natural, which is just a few areas, including that Corps of Engineers. Urban conservancy. Public flood protection, which is like the rip-wrapped areas. Recreation, Chiawana, and the other parks, Sacagawea, etc. There is a high-intensity mixed use, and that may have some opportunity for commercial development in that area. And then high-intensity industrial, that's Big Pasco that we talked about, and then shoreline residential, the kind of the rest of the residential areas. So each of these, when there's a development proposal in that environment designation, has buffers anywhere from 5 to 75 feet. The 5 feet is because it's in an area that's already rip-wrapped and there's really no function, right? So it's really just kind of outside of that flood area, then, or that flood protection facility, then you could have commercial development or other types of development. And then you can see it goes up to 50, 75 feet. There's also, if there's wetlands or other things, then there are more protections that get added on to that. And then there's an 8-foot minimum setback from the buffer for structures. So if you're in a shoreline residential and you're 50 feet away and you want to do something at 55 feet, you have to be 58 feet away to have a structure. And you have to build that structure in a way that doesn't impact the buffer. There are also vegetation standards. They don't necessarily apply retroactively to existing uses and developments, but you manage, again, to achieve no net loss of ecological functions. So if you have a property and it has a lot of trees along it, and you remove those trees or limbs or stuff so that you have a better view, that's changed the function. You had a canopy there, and now you don't have the same canopy, and you don't have the same kind of habitat. So the idea is to basically try to maintain. You can still trim. There's hazards and things that, hazard limbs or property damage that could result. You can do reasonable trimming, but if you have any questions about that, you can check with the city staff on kind of what's the appropriate approach there to maintain those ecological functions. If you have native vegetation on your property and you want to do some landscaping, just check in with the city and talk to them about ways that you can do that in a way that provides additional function. There are lots of native plants that look nice that can be added into the landscaping to provide that function. And we want to see that native vegetation continue on because it's part of what the habitat, it's part of the habitat, it's part of what Fish and Wildlife use for this area. So I mentioned that we have this grant from the state. The grant funds the user guide that we've talked about. It's funding the time for this meeting tonight. And also, we're developing an ecological functions tracking system. So what we're doing is we're helping the city develop a way to track permit conditions through time to protect ecological functions along the shoreline. So I know Gary, I'm going to pick on him if that's all right, because we used to work together quite a bit. And so he comes in and he is going to do some development. He got approval and he has to do some vegetation plantings. So those are on his permit. The city, he agrees to those conditions, and it has to be done in like 3 years, and then he has to submit a performance report of how that's working. Right now, that gets transferred into a system, but it's hard to follow up on all these details from all these permits over time. And what we're trying to do is help develop for the city a more streamlined tracking so that requirements for his property or your property or improvements at Chiawana that might require some mitigation, that all of those kind of have reminders that automatically come up through the city's permit tracking system, so that the city can now look at like all the provisions that they have related to shoreline development and all of the mitigation requirements or reporting requirements, et cetera, and that information gets generated in a report that they can see, maybe quarterly or monthly, and see how the status is of being implemented. And it's a way to provide accountability for city staff. It's a way to provide accountability to landowners, follow through on what was committed. And it's also a way to provide accountability for the program, right? To show that we are implementing this program consistent with the requirements, and we're following up and ensuring that the compliance is being met. So we're doing that through the permitting system, and I'll show you a little more detail about that here in a second. We're also doing more of a landscape evaluation of ecological functions. I mentioned we did a comprehensive update like 2013 to 2017-18 timeframe. And when we did that and we broke up the shoreline into all these reaches, we also characterized ecological functions for those reaches. So like where there's riprap, no function or very limited function, right? Where the Corps of Engineers wetland is, there's a lot of complexity, a lot of function, a lot of kind of interaction between the water and the in the wetland and the river. So we documented all of those things. We're now going back and looking at the shorelines and say, what do they look like in 2022, 23, 24, just kind of overall, kind of setting the development and the impacts from the development aside and the mitigation that's occurred. How is the landscape, working? Are we seeing more vegetation? Are we seeing less vegetation? Is there an area where maybe vegetation got removed accidentally or incidentally and affected things or intentionally? And so we're doing a landscape view as well so that we not only have kind of the permitting, tracking, and the requirements, but also on the landscape scale, how are we doing in achieving no net loss of ecological function? And I think what we'll see is that it's varied. Like in some reaches, things have gotten more complex, better habitat. And in other areas, maybe there's opportunity for improvement. So that information is more of like a pilot program. So there's not a specific tracking mechanism that we're going to recommend. We're just going to share our findings we're using a variety of different aerial imagery and data sets to do that. And as we stitch that information together into kind of a picture of the shoreline, we'll share that to the city with some options that they can consider for using that tool or those sets of tools to better track implementation and no net loss of ecological function through time. So here's what the tracking tool looks like, just so you know a little bit more about it. So again, more complete record keeping with regard to compliance and the mitigation compliance. So the city uses this eTrackIt IT3 permit management software. They're just adopting this now. Like I mentioned earlier, the provisions are going to get incorporated into this system, and there's going to be some auto reports generated so that the city can receive the information regularly and see what they're doing, what they're required to follow up on. And so reminders for upcoming mitigation reports, outputs, the ecological function tool, which I'll tell you about here in a sec, and then better support for reporting on cumulative effects, kind of over time, through time, how's the shoreline performing. So here's what it might look like. So you would have a shoreline permit, you would have like what's being impacted, and so like this is like maybe trying to improve hydrologic functions, establish some coyote willows. So in year one, you're gonna just report on that and make sure those are established. So it just shows you like different removing invasive vegetation and then removing water debris. So if those were the requirements and you had to do some reporting and monitoring, all this gets captured in that system and then flagged to Aaron and other planning staff so that they can follow up on. Ecological function, this is really one slide. So considering, again, all the different reaches, and this is the Corps of Engineers property. If you see that green swath out there, that's where shoreline jurisdiction gets wider. And so we're looking at water flow, sediment transport, water quality, and habitat functions. And again, looking at the landscape scale, how that works. And then do we also see that when we get on the ground and do some visual verification. Maybe the last thing I'll say on the ecological kind of landscape tracking is that we're going to go back to those subreaches and how we characterize them and then update and kind of compare that description to see, again, better, worse, same. We're not going to do it for the entire shoreline of the city. We're going to pick a few areas to just kind of test the method and see how it works and then share those results with the city. And our report will be made available to the public. Everything that we prepare for this project will ultimately be posted on the city's website for people to look at. The plan is to complete everything by the end of June. So we're well underway on a lot of the technical work on the permit tracking system and the ecological functions look. But yeah, all of this work wraps up by the end of June. The reports will probably be available like sometime in July on the city's website. And then we can go from there.
Want to help wildlife? Don't feed them. While it's understandable that people both love to watch wildlife and want to help wild animals by feeding them, wildlife feeding is more harmful than helpful. Animals have evolved to endure a wide range of environmental conditions and food availability, and they rarely need supplemental food from humans to survive. A major consequence of wildlife feeding is that it spreads contagious diseases. When animals are fed by humans, they come into close contact with one another at feed sites. If there's a sick animal in the area, these unnatural concentrations of animals can result in spreading disease more rapidly than if feeding wasn't happening. One of the most impactful diseases to deer, elk, and moose is chronic wasting disease, or CWD for short, which is always fatal. It's caused by proteins called prions that act as an infectious agent and spread through direct contact between animals, as well as indirect contact through exposure to contaminated environments. Once prions are deposited into soil, water, or even plant tissue from infected animals, they're extremely difficult to remove and can remain in the environment for years. The first detection of CWD in Washington was near Spokane in 2024. As a result of the disease being present in our state, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife enacted a statewide ban on feeding deer, elk, and moose in an effort to minimize transmission of CWD. Feeding any kind of wildlife, including the use of salt or mineral licks that encourages these species to gather together, is illegal. Most animals with CWD appear normal until the end stages of the disease, when they could show signs of weight loss, lethargy, drooping ears, excessive salivation and urination, and loss of fear of people. Even when infected animals look healthy, they're spreading CWD. Ultimately, this disease can cause serious threats to the long-term conservation of deer, elk, and moose populations. In addition to the ban on feeding deer, elk, and moose, WDFW has adopted several other rules to prevent the spread of CWD. Go to wdfw.wa.gov/CWD for additional information on CWD, how it's being managed in Washington, and more ways you can help prevent the spread of this disease. Most important, though, leave wild species alone and let them be wild.
Welcome to Pasco, where we are building a community rooted in culture. Check out the Farmers Market downtown at Peanuts Park, Saturdays from May through October. Taste something new at one of our diverse local restaurants, the Pasco Specialty Kitchen vendor windows, or our growing food truck scene. And enjoy the natural beauty of our waterfront parks and the Sacagawea Heritage Trail. Shop small, explore local, and experience the spirit of Pasco. Naturally transformative.
So we're going to need everybody's help because this fire engine, fully loaded, is about 52,000 pounds. So a big effort, a big push will be greatly appreciated. So in the early 19th century, when we had horse-drawn wagons that would respond to fires, when they came back, they would unhitch the horses from the wagons and they would manually push the wagon back into the firehouse. And so it became a push-in effort to get that in. Now, as the fire apparatus became motorized, that tradition continued in order to honor those who came before us and continue the traditions that we respect within the service itself. The ceremony isn't just about a fire truck, it's about all of us, firefighters and the community, coming together to strengthen our bond and ensure our recognition of public safety.
Great things are happening in Pasco, and none of it is by accident. With nearly 800 new neighbors moving in between 2024 and 2025, and thousands more expected in the next 20 years, we're laying the groundwork that will keep this community thriving. That starts with space for homes and businesses. Pasco has issued more than 350 new residential permits this year, and we've seen more than 280 businesses open their doors, from one-person operations launched from the Pasco Specialty Kitchen all the way to economic giants like Dairy Gold and Amazon. From new homes and schools to growing businesses and innovative infrastructure, we're building not just for today, but for generations to come.
Our Department of Community and Economic Development is a key part of that future. Every action that we take now will impact our residents forever. And with that responsibility, our Community and Economic Development team works very diligently to make sure that we're not making any decisions that have adverse impact on our current and future residents. CED is transforming the permitting process to make it faster, easier, and more transparent. We've already removed permit requirements for some common property improvements to align with neighboring cities and the International Building Code. Soon, applicants will be able to submit permits, upload documents, make payments, and track timelines through one online portal. Pasco is experiencing and preparing for significant growth over the next 20 years, reaching just over 120,000 residents by 2046, along with housing, jobs, and infrastructure needed to support them. We're actively engaging with the Pasco community to find places to improve and to chart a path for the future with our comprehensive plan update. Guided by Washington State's Growth Management Act, we're planning responsibly to ensure balanced development, expanded services, and a high quality of life for current and future residents.
New businesses and new neighbors mean new infrastructure, and Pasco is building the framework that allows our city to grow. In 2025, we celebrated the Process Water Reuse Facility, both the addition of a groundbreaking collaboration with private business to turn food processing wastewater into fuel, fertilizer, and irrigation water, and the expansion of treatment ponds. Together, these updates provide vital support for agriculture in our region. We're investing in transportation, with new roads being built in the Broadmoor area as open land transforms into neighborhoods, schools, and shopping centers, keeping travel safe for drivers and pedestrians alike. A new roundabout at the intersection of Court Street and Road 68 keeps traffic flowing smoothly on two major arterials in our city. We've doubled capacity at the West Pasco Water Treatment Plant and built additional transmission mains and a storage tank to continue to distribute water to all customers. Still ahead, we're planning for significant upgrades to the Butterfield Water Treatment Plant as our team continues delivering on the projects outlined in our ambitious 6-year capital improvements plan. Low-interest loans were secured for several major utility projects supporting vital infrastructure with lesser burden on ratepayers. And we're using new state and federal grants to improve safety on roads and sidewalks across the city, making it easier for residents to stay active and connected.
We're working to protect Pasco residents at every level. To improve our emergency response, the fire department recently replaced 3 structure engines, updated several medic units, and added an additional wildland unit to our fleet. We're also investing in new technologies, such as outfitting every medic unit with cutting-edge cardiac defibrillators and laryngoscopes, all aimed at providing a higher level of care to the thousands of patients we provide EMS to on a yearly basis. One of our strengths is the strong working relationship we have with our law enforcement team. We are currently partnering on a new drone program which allows drones piloted by Pasco police officers to assist our crews on fires and during rescue operations. This type of collaboration significantly enhances our ability to serve our community.
The Pasco Police Department has expanded its drone program to help track suspects and enforce traffic laws more safely, reducing the risk of high-speed pursuits. But technology is only part of the story. Pasco Police are meeting with residents face-to-face, hosting district meetings, and partnering with business leaders to strengthen community trust and collaboration. The community feedback also helps us focus our attention on reducing hotspots, making more of our staff time and resources.
When police anywhere in the Tri-Cities get an animal call, they can partner with our animal control officers at Tri-Cities Animal Services. Our new building has dedicated spaces for handling sick or injured animals, plus an in-house vet's office and improved spaces where families looking to adopt can meet potential pets. But that's just one of the new facilities opened in Pasco this year. This summer, we celebrated a new sporting complex on A Street, giving more Pasco families access to athletic fields closer to home. Downtown at the Pasco Specialty Kitchen, we installed new equipment, a new vendor window, and an outdoor seating area, expanding opportunities for local entrepreneurs. We've invested in Gisa Stadium improvements to ensure that the facility meets MLB requirements and continues providing a safe sports entertainment experience for fans and players alike. And of course, with over 300 days of sunshine each year, we make the most of our outdoor spaces. Thousands join us for events like Cinco de Mayo, the Grand Old 4th of July, the Fiery Foods Festival, Winterfest, and the Cable Bridge Run, celebrating our community all year long. Join us in 2026 for a once-in-a-generation watch party, where soccer fans from all over the region will be able to gather and cheer on their favorite teams as they compete in one of the world's biggest sporting events.
From community and infrastructure and safety to housing, business and recreation, Pasco continues to grow with purpose. Together, we're building a city that's stronger, smarter, and ready for the future.
We're forging the future of the city of Pasco, and we need your voice. The city is updating our comprehensive plan, which covers everything from housing and transportation to utilities and parks. This document showcases the vision of what we want Pasco to be in 2046 and beyond. Tell us about the type of businesses you'd like to see, the types of parks you'd like to visit, and the type of neighborhood you want to live in. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit pasco-wa.gov/compplan and become part of the future.
I think the biggest part is I am a police officer here at the school. I have duties here. I'm here to protect the school and keep everybody safe, but I am a normal person too.
Pasco Police Officer Eric Maddox is one of 3 school resource officers assigned to the Pasco School District high schools. He says finding ways to connect with students is a critical part of the job.
It is building those relationships to where they feel comfortable enough that they can come and talk to me about anything. When the kids feel comfortable being around me and coming to talk to me, and that happens a lot, they'll come into my door here in my office and, hey, can I talk to you? And that just doesn't happen. They just don't come up to an officer and randomly tell them their life story to you.
Many students in Pasco high schools will have already met Pasco police officers thanks to the School Resource Officer program in our middle schools.
I love doing this. It's something that I wanted to do as an extra thing that we do as officers.
Officer Ismael Cano has been a school resource officer for over a decade.
I always wanted to do the SRO thing. I wanted to come and work at the schools and work with students.
He's hoping to build connections early and keep students on the right track.
There's some kids that probably already have a negative thing about us, but sometimes they do overcome that and they come and they start talking to me, or I'll talk to them, I'll start a conversation. Some kids get to the point where they come up and they play around with me. That's a great feeling to be able to do that with them sometimes.
It's a lot of work to build connections with teens and preteens, but it pays off.
You're going to have a lot of conversations, and sometimes there are going to be a lot of tough conversations. And just being mentally prepared to handle all of those on a daily basis. They're 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, and they're using social media sometimes for bad things like that. And I try to teach them not to get involved in that kind of stuff and social media. You have to have more patience and understanding when you're dealing with students. You gotta use incidents more of as a teaching moment, especially with middle schoolers because they're a lot younger.
Social media and home life can spill into school hours, and in those cases, having a school resource officer can make a big difference.
There are some difficult things that we have to deal with here, and sometimes we have to reach out to our outside resources, whether that be CPS or whatever else resources that we need to get a hold of, whatever the situation is. It might not always be law enforcement needed, but they might need a resource that is needed, and that I can help make that connection for them.
Tonight, we're having a listening session on the Shoreline Master Program. The project that we're working on, developing a user guide and permit tracking system, is funded through a state grant. Washington State Department of Ecology is funding this effort. So we are working for the state, we're working for the city through a grant from the state. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about the Shoreline Management Act, just so that we're all on the same level of understanding, the Shoreline Master Program that the city has in place, the user guide that's a draft. It's a easier way to understand the Shoreline Master Program that the city has in place, how it works, what the requirements are, and then it points you to where you can get more details in the city code. We'll review the specific scope that the state's funded for the city to do. And again, most importantly, we want to answer your questions, listen to your input, and factor that in going forward. One thing I want to make clear is that the city is not modifying their Shoreline Master Program at this time. We went through a process a couple years ago with the Planning Commission and the City Council to do some very minor updates to that master program. And so what we're talking tonight is really more about how the program is implemented. And so the user guide focuses on that implementation, your comments, questions. We also want to hear what you think about implementation, where you think things are working well, where there's opportunities for improvement, that kind of thing. And then we'll conclude with next steps. So the Shoreline Management Act was passed in the early 70s, and it was put in place to have a more coordinated development of the shoreline, or to basically end piecemeal and uncoordinated development. And so there were several master programs that were developed in the early 70s, including the City of Pasco. And then in the early 2000s, the Washington State Department of Ecology updated their Shoreline Master Program guidelines. And then the City of Pasco went through a comprehensive update of their Shoreline Master Program from like 2013, 2014 to 2017. And that was a major rewrite. And again, I was the project manager for that effort, so we developed a kind of completely new program for the city that met all the latest requirements. And then the Shoreline Master Program that the city adopted in 2017 and then updated in 2023 is the program that governs development of the shorelines. And so where are the shoreline areas? It's really a very narrow strip of shoreline area within the city. So it's along the Columbia River and the Snake River, and it's just that 200-foot band. If you can see that band there in yellow, that represents 200 feet basically from where the vegetation starts on the shoreline, 200 feet out, or 200 feet upland, and that's where the program regulates and applies. Okay? You can see in the bottom there's a green polygon. That represents a wetland, and that it's bisecting that 200 feet. That is an associated wetland. In the case of a wetland like that, where it's bifurcated, shoreline jurisdiction bumps out. In the city, on the west corner of the Columbia River as it starts to head north, there's a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers property just past Chiawana Park. And in that area, there's a very extensive wetland. And so in that area, shoreline jurisdiction bumps out quite a ways and follows the edge of that wetland, and then it bumps back in once the slope gets a little steeper and heads up from there. There aren't any lakes in the city of Pasco that are in shoreline jurisdiction, so we're just looking at the Snake and the Columbia River. Floodways are also included, and then we talked about associated wetlands. So one of the things that is unique about the Shoreline Master Program is that in one set of regulations, you have to balance environmental protection, public access, and water-oriented uses. You think about like city zoning. City zoning is focused on development, right? How does development happen? Then they have a critical areas code that is how you protect the wetlands and steep slopes and fish and wildlife habitat. And Aaron and the other planning members, our planning department staff, have to then take those regulations and kind of put them together so that it works, so that you comply with the zoning and you protect wetlands and other resources through the critical areas code. In the Shoreline Master Program, it's all blended together as one program. And so it can be a little challenging to try and meet all the different requirements and achieve that balance. We've tried to develop a balanced program. Hopefully it's working fairly well for the city. So what is included in a shoreline master program? There's a goals and policies section. So what are we trying to accomplish with the program in a lot of different areas? So think about, the environmental protection, public access, and allowing for uses. There are goals related to each of those and policies as well. And then there's regulations. Regulations for specific areas. What we did is we took the whole shoreline for the city and we divided it up into reaches and then placed environment designations.
Good evening and welcome to the City of Pasco Council regular meeting. The council thanks you for being a part of your city government. At meetings, the city council takes formal action on items, holds public hearings, and conducts other business of the city. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV, channel 191, on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams webinar. This and previous council meeting video is available on the city's website. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Campos.
Here.
Cotta.
Here.
Figueroa.
Present.
Hernandez.
Present.
Perales.
Here.
Milne.
Present.
Grimm.
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you. And as we do the pledge, I'd love all of these young people to come up. I'm going to come down there and join me to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, if everyone would rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, young people. Moving on to number 4, the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by a roll call vote as one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If further discussion is desired by council members, the item may be removed from the consent agenda to the regular agenda and considered separately. Letter A, approval of meeting minutes for April 6. B, bills and communications approving claims in the total amount of $7,775,038.99 and write-off totaling, I need help there. Maybe I'm going to dig, $2,350,723.66. Letter C, resolution number 4728, professional services agreement, amendment number 1 with RH2 Engineering Incorporated for design services for the Foster Wells Lift Station Improvement Project. Would any members of council like to remove any of these from the consent agenda? Not seeing any. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second. Motion on the floor by the Mayor Pro Tem to approve the consent agenda as read, seconded by Councilmember Perales. Madam Clerk, if you'd take a roll call vote, please.
Campos.
Yes.
Cotta.
Yes.
Figueroa.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Perales.
Yes.
Milne.
Yes.
Grimm.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Moving on quickly to number 6, the public may address council on any items unless it relates to a scheduled public hearing. This item is provided to allow the opportunity to bring items to the attention of the city council or to express an opinion on an issue. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or for the posing of questions with the expectation of immediate response. Some questions require consideration by council over time, and after a deliberative process with input from a number of different sources, Some questions are best directed to staff members who have access to specific information. Citizen comments will be normally limited to 3 minutes each. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and or submit written information for consideration by the council outside of formal meetings. Lastly, when called upon, please state your name and city or county of residency into the microphone before providing your comments. We'll now open up public comments. And again, thank you everybody in the chamber for your grace in our 30 minutes tardiness starting this meeting. If anybody would like to address the council, please step forward to the microphone. Thank you. Anybody want to address the council? Yep. Mr. Gonzalez, come on up. Name and city or county of residence for the record, please.
Mike Gonzalez, 7819 Cassiar Drive in Pasco. So thank you. Good evening, Mayor Grimm, council members, and City Manager Stewart. Thank you for the warm welcome. Really appreciate that. Staff and old colleagues, it's great to be back here. Mike Gonzalez, once worked in City Hall. So currently serving as a city manager, small little town just outside of Tri-City. So I really understand how difficult it can be to be in public service. I'm also a real estate agent in Tri-Cities, but tonight I'm here on behalf of the Latin Business Association, where I serve as the executive director in a volunteer role in a consultant capacity. I do it for free because I love Pasco. I really do. It's where I call home, and it's really where I want to be for a long time. Tonight is really about moving forward. It's about setting a path for downtown and the entire core of this city. So I want to thank Leo Perales, who's been a really big supporter of ours. He's outspoken, but I think everybody knows that for certain. Also want to recognize our founder, David Cortinez. David loves Pasco. He's always fought for the Latino people. At times we know David is a lightning rod, but when he's speaking on issues, he does it because he deeply cares. When he does it, he's not always the most popular person in the room, but his passion for the community you can never doubt. David knows LBA is bigger than him. It's why he understands it's time to pass the torch. LBA includes 114 businesses and an executive board made up of respected community members. I formerly served as Pasco's economic development manager for a couple of years. During that time, I helped remove the notorious Thunderbird Motel marketed Broadmoor. Also worked on the downtown master plan. I also served as a liaison for DPDA, and despite what you may have heard or watched a video that I hope you don't watch on YouTube, I was actually the one who reported financial controls were not being followed. As a result, we brought in Darcy Buckley, who helped stabilize the situation. With DPDA gone, there's a real void in Pasco right now. There is no centralized entity for downtown activation, cultural events, or small business support. That's where we believe we can fill that void through business support, helping the farmers market, the specialty kitchen, and by creating a stronger bilingual connection between small business and City Hall. We also plan to move away from the name Latin Business Association and to not really adopt a name that really reflects the vision, culture, and unity of Pasco. Once that transition is complete and our new flag is flying, we look forward to sharing our vision more publicly. So if you don't know, our office is in downtown right in the post office. We're proud to be a part of Cinco de Mayo for the third year in a row. I've also already reached out to Mayor Grimm, Milne, and also Mr. Perales and Mr. Coda. So
Mr.
thank you so
Gonzalez,
much and really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Anybody else for public comment? Could step right on up. Is that you, Miss Mahoney? Come on up.
Mary Mahoney, Pasco resident, to Pasco regarding the Pasco Aquatic Center or Pasco Officials Retirement Plan. Aquatic Director Matt Watkins is paid by our tax dollars nearly $11,000 per month plus expenses, provide his passport and costs for his new house, and an audit for Watkins Endeavor LLC, provide the total tax dollars paid to Mr. Watkins' partners, Pasco City Attorney Lee Kerr and proxies. Phase 1 of the Aquatic Center exceeds $40 million, provide a total cost for all future aquatic phases to be paid by our tax dollars. Compare Yakima Aquatic Center's total cost at $11 million. Regarding animal control, provide the repayment of the $545,000 donated by our local veteran, Mr. Ashby, in his will to be used for homeless dogs and cats. Instead, Animal Control Julie Chambers ciphered off $300,000 of that donation and bought a house. Provide a total repayment of that donation. Provide a total repayment of the rainy day fund paid by our tax dollars, stolen or missing, with Animal Control rehire Angela Zeiler. Animal Control TCAS has no spay-neuter clinic. It would decrease the number of dogs and cats trafficked to WSU. See files. Provide the total tax dollars paid to Animal Control from WSU for our dogs and cats to be used for research at WSU, then they're killed. Provide the total tax dollars made by Animal Control TCAS with the usage pay system or pet owner fines. Provide results for the 48 counts of animal cruelty at Animal Control, and provide truthful, not false euthanasia training certificates at Animal Control. See the Washington State Attorney General file. Provide Pasco City Attorney Lee Kerr's notice to or from the Washington State Bar regarding Mr. Kerr's authorization of no due process at Animal Control. Next, provide a floodplain permit number 404 with Flood and Clean Water Act reports and fines paid by Pasco and spot zoning developers Hayden Homes for killing our 8 floodplain American bald eagles and eaglets and our floodplain migratory Canadian geese. Provide ULID LID designs for my property with start dates, cost, notice, harassment, and retaliation against me on my property. See Ike Meyer Roundy for Pasco's Playbook on YouTube 5/23/22 regarding indentured servitude plans for homeowners. Provide all investigations and audits for the above. All requests are for the record via RCW 42.56 with notice to Pasco.
Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. Anybody else in the chamber want to address council? Step right on up. Thank you. Name and city or county residence for the record, please.
Name is Bob Mangione, Franklin County. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As stated, I'm Bob Mangione. I'm joined by my wife, Marisol, our son, Matthew, and our friends and neighbors. As several on the council know, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer back in 2023. Through the prayers of hundreds and our own deep faith, we're declaring healing. However, a spinal tumor compromised my ability to work in our contracting business established in 2009 as I once did. We hope the city will soon approve short-term rentals so we can generate a semi-passive income. We hope. At the height of our cancer battle, many beautiful people donated $60,000 to keep us from losing our home. To remain self-sufficient, a short-term rental is now critical for our family's future. Through our extensive research, our amenities and price point will likely attract discerning guests respecting our home and neighborhood. Our 4-bedroom home features 2 Master King suites and a flex room offering a total of 3 king beds, very rare in the Columbia Basin, and highly attractive for multi-generational families. We have a beautiful gourmet kitchen with natural gas, a gas fireplace, massage chair, professional cinema suite, and a Queen Anne formal dining for 12. The home includes HVAC air purification and a water softener. We intend to add an RO system, a large hot tub, extra large gazebo, outdoor lighting, and speakers. We'll maintain the home impeccably with our commercial grade vapor steam cleaner. With a 60-foot monitored driveway near the boat launch and 100% neighbor support, we're positioned for success. We intend to live in our shop at the back of our property. 21 contractors donated $31,000 to renovate this space for free community automotive care. With their blessing, we will complete the build-out to live on-site, providing hands-on oversight and maintain excellence for our guests. With 16 years' experience in hospitality and public relations, including organizing large, historic, and newsworthy events in Spokane, LeGrand, and here in the Tri-Cities, I'd be honored to volunteer as a liaison for Pasco. I'm ready to help implement implement an STR program potentially as a pilot as other cities have done successfully. Our goal is to elevate our STR standards to the point of pursuing regional and even national recognition. In closing, if nothing else lingers tonight, it's this. Despite the medical, emotional, and economic burden cancer has placed on our family, we're going to do this right. With true integrity, what it looks like for others, and especially for our son, and give God glory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mangione. And yeah, as you referenced, this is coming up in our upcoming meetings. So yeah, it is a topic we're going to tackle. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it. Anybody else like to address council on this or any other issue? Good evening, Ms. Wade.
So, making sure. Okay, good evening. My name is Amber Wade, who moved here to Pasco in 2021. I remember standing in a council meeting when Richland was asking for support regarding fireworks, and I remember hearing council members saying something about not wanting to play in other people's backyards. I want to bring that back up today because this is exactly the moment where that thinking matters. Because when we focus on my backyard versus your backyard, we miss what is right in front of us. From October through December, my mobile home park went through without water from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. day after day after day. Over 100 people were affected. During that time, not one city council member helped us. No porta potties or toilets were provided. No bottled water was distributed by ownership or management. People were left to figure out on their own. But someone did show up. Someone, my name, Chandra. She did not even live here in Pasco, and she was battling cancer, just like this individual here. And she came and helped anyways. Her and her husband, Juan, brought water. They brought food. They helped my neighbors. They showed up when people needed it most. And even when this last month, she helped me out with food because I did not have any. This last Friday, I got a call from her husband letting me know that she had lost her battle to cancer. Excuse me. This is what community looks like. My friend Chandra was what helped us. She didn't live here in Pasco. She lived in Kennewick. And when I needed help, she came. You did not come. She came while she was dying. She brought my neighbors food. She helped transport. Her and her husband transported a refrigerator to those in need. Her funeral is tomorrow. The family does not have the funds to pay for it. I am trying to start a estate sale. My name is Amber Wade, W-A-I-D Carter. You can find more information on how to help this family. Because when Pasco needed help, she showed up. And you did not. And you can talk a big game, you can do whatever you want to do, and I know you have politics, but a lady dying of cancer came to help our community, our people, not you. So please, as Pasco, we need to remember to play in other people's backyards because they do help us. So we need to give back to those who came to help when we needed it most. And I believe that is who we are as Pasco residents. We are going to say thank you, and you have the opportunity now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. Appreciate your heartfelt comments. Anybody else in the chamber? Please step right on up. Name and city or county of residence for the record, please.
My name is Camara Brooks, and I live in Walla Walla County. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Camara Brooks, and I own Tri-Cities 911 Driving School. We primarily serve students between ages 18 and 15, young drivers who are just beginning to develop habits and judgment that will stay with them for a lifetime. I'm not here to debate the legalities of marijuana businesses, but we happen to have one right next door to us. I'm here to speak about real daily impacts and having marijuana dispensary operating in close proximity as our youth-focused driver training facility. Every day our mission is to teach responsibility, awareness, and life and death consequences of impaired driving. For many of our students, this is the first time behind the wheel. This is a critical stage in decision-making skills they are developing, and the environment around them really matters. Unfortunately, the environment surrounding our school is working against this mission. On a daily basis, our staff cleans up alcohol containers and drug paraphernalia and from our parking lot and landscaping. This is not occasional, this is continuous. We are also encountering individuals in the immediate area who are impaired, and at times they act and approach our students, and often they are currently using right outside of our front doors. Additionally, we are seeing more situations involving the struggling with impairment, mental health challenges, as well as unstable behavior. This raises real safety concerns, not only for our students, parents, and our staff. There are also traffic safety concerns. We see people going through our parking lot. I always say at Mach 1, it's a little over-exaggerated, but not by much. It's a real safety concern when we have beginner students learning how to just park and navigate traffic, and we have to deal with this. Parents trust us with their children, and they expect a safe and structured and professional environment, one that reinforces that things we are teaching in the classroom as well as behind the wheel. Right now, trust is being put at risk by the factors completely outside of our control. This is not just opposing a business. It is about recognizing that certain businesses are not compatible to be placed side by side, especially when one serves minors and is structured to teaching environment, and then we have something like a dispensary right next door. I am asking council to take a serious look at the situation and consider what is appropriate when considering zoning, placement, and protecting youth center services. Because this just isn't about this one location, it's about our standards and life and death responsibilities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your important perspective. Anybody else in council in the council chamber want to address the council tonight? Step right on up, ma'am. Come on up. We have a public hearing tonight on a transportation benefit district, and so we'll take comments on that at the time. That's the purpose of a public hearing. Anything else, though, this is the appropriate time to address council, and the only time. Thank you. Name and city of residence, please.
Janine Hummer. I just recently, about 3.5 weeks ago, moved back to Pasco from Richland. I'm here as a character reference, I guess, for Bob Mangione and Marisol. And dogs are the best judge of character sometimes. And I'm bringing this up because after my husband, Billy Tuttle, had died, he and Marisol and their crew came over and washed my windows at my house, and later did some maintenance around the house and yard. And the neighbor dog, Rocky, was a yellow or some kind of retriever who had been abused, and he barked and barked, and he was vicious, acting to everyone. But Bob was able to talk to him quietly, and he let him pet him. So I'm saying that he's the only person I ever saw this dog not get mean at. So Bob and Marisol have recruited me for many things to help them out, like to make lumpia for fundraisers, and for working at the Christian concerts at the Toyota Center, like in the merchandise center, selling for the singers. And he has gone through this really tough time physically with cancer. But he has never lost his faith in God, and we are seeing kind of a miracle that he's, conquering cancer. But I know it's brought financial concerns for the family. And so I have run my own midterm rental in Richland, and I know that this would be a big help to their family to be able to use their home as a short-term rental. I know that he's very good at recruiting, and I know he'd be very, very good at screening people, because he would want people in his home that would be safe around his young son Matthew and his wife Marisol. So I'm just asking you to consider allowing him and approving for him to have a short-term rental at his home. Thank you.
Thank you for your heartfelt comments. Appreciate that. Yes, sir. Step right on up. Thank you.
Yes, Martinez, Benton County. On behalf of Maggione and his wife Marisol as well, and his little son Matthew. Same thing, just want to speak on his character. I met Bob through a Facebook tag, and that was the perfect opportunity to let you guys understand that a stranger can become a neighbor. And right now, today, you guys have the privilege of knowing Bob now. He's no longer a stranger. He's a neighbor. He's part of the community. And the community is unity, and we need to stick together and embrace one another. And this thing can help his family, and he can continue to have an honor and integrity to provide for his wife and his son, to continue to do the things that most of us can do effortlessly. So I'm just here to let you guys know and say it'd be just a privilege to approve this, and just even give it a consideration that this man is a very organized person. He's helped me. I'm a business owner as well, and he's helped me structure my business in a better way to better myself and better my business. So if anybody is deserving, it is Bob Maggione and his family. So I just want to thank you guys for your time and take the consideration. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's always good to personalize these things, but when we make this decision, it's going to be for all of Pasco to be able to, yes, have this passive opportunity for income. Anybody else in the chamber? Step right on up, please.
Yeah, good evening, Council. Doug Perez, resident Kennewick. I just kind of wanted to comment in regards to our short-term rentals. I know last year, Councilman Leo talked about allowing short-term rentals. I know in your city staff was saying that they were banned, and you guys took that out from your city staff. So the last year or so, I do have an operator that runs short-term, mid-term, and long-term, and so we've been able to do it successfully in Pasco. And so I know putting in short-term rentals, regulating them is going to be a burden on the city, because you're going to have city staff, and so something to think about. For that, but I think it would be a great opportunity for Bob, and I hope I can chat with him later and help him out on that. So just want to put that on comment. So Doug Perez, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Appreciate it. Anybody else in the chamber like to address council? This is the time. Director Sarah, good evening.
Good evening. We do have some people online and in the audience that are here for the last item in the agenda related to PWF annual review. And I wanted to confirm whether this would be the time for them to all speak, including the people online, or if comments would be allowed during that item. Thank you.
Let me just look ahead. Thank you. So you're saying to the last, they're in 11 and new business?
Yes.
Is this people you are calling on for like their expert opinion, or is this citizens, or?
These are customer of the utility.
Oh, I see. Oh, customers of the utility. I would think, let's keep those comments, I guess, until then. I think would be fine. I appreciate that. We'll probably still limit those to the 3 minutes, but that way we just have the continuity of the same discussion or whatever. Plus, I'm sure they might like to respond to the staff presentation too. So thank you so much for that point of clarification. Anybody else in council want to speak on any issue to us? Going once, going twice. We will close public comment. Now moving to council. Number 7, reports from committees and or officers. What have you guys been up to? Councilmember Hernandez, start us off.
I attended my first Citizen Police Academy
Is that it? Police Academy, the movies. It was actually very interesting. You should have all signed up. We had learned about traffic stops and how 911 works in our area. And we had a practice with officers outside. We played cops and they played traffic violators. So it was a lot of fun. I will continue on for 10 more weeks. Officer Decker is the instructor, so he's really good. So it goes on tomorrow and every Tuesday for 10 weeks. So I may be talking about it more, I guess. And also, for the first time, I've done the taco crawl, which I didn't know how it worked exactly. Now I know. And we should all buy a booklet. They're $45 at the C&D Better Wine Shop. It also benefits the Boys and Girls Club and our local taco vendors. So we should all. I know Councilman Campos bought one, so we should all. I bought one, so we should all go buy one.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, the pressure's on to all go get one at the C&D Better Wine Shop in downtown Pasco. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Hernandez. No, really appreciate you being part of the academy too. I've heard nothing but good things from both citizens and council about how good that is. So I'm grateful that you're able to attend and fit that in your schedule. Councilmember Campos.
Yeah, I attended the LRA housing outreach with several other council members. It was great to see a bigger turnout this time, and we anticipate to have even more turnout in the next two that we have. But we had just heard from the citizens about what their opinion is on the LRA housing, and so it was great to hear a passionate conversation. Everyone there is against it and wants to do their part, and so it was a great turnout and really excited for what that was and what's going to come in the future. Also on Thursday, I attended the Franklin County Emergency Management Board meeting, and they gave us some information that there was a nuclear plant exercise on March 24th, and there's like 250 people that participated in this, and they did a hostile action-based exercise. And they explained everything, and it was really cool. The exciting piece was that FEMA said there was no findings issued, so everything went well with that. And they will give a final report later in June. And then coming to us a little bit later on too is the Community Wildfire Protection Plan and the Hazard Mitigation Plan. So we look forward to seeing that as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Councilmember Cotta.
Yeah, it was a busy week last week. There was the City Improvement Plan and Transportation Improvement Plan meetings where we heard citizens talk about issues that they have, questions that they have about city streets and infrastructure and transportation. And then we had that LRA meeting, which was to notify the public about the state's procedure for implementing sexual predators into our communities. And so that turned into more probably of an activism kind of a meeting than anything else. But I would encourage everybody to attend. We're going to have a couple more of those meetings. And it's going to take all of us to fight this thing. I also went to Calvary Christian School and did mock interviews with the high schoolers over there. And then went over to WSU and had kind of a coffee. Well, it was kind of a cool thing. They had these free vouchers for coffee if you went and talked to the city officials. So they brought us there to be able to talk to the college kids about local government. And so they would come and then we'd give them a coupon for a free coffee, and that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Figueroa.
Yeah, so just to kind of go off with what Councilmember Cotta said, I was also had the privilege to attend that with him, and I think WZ Tri-Cities knows college students. I mean, I remember those times, anything free, you show up. So, but it was good conversations with this age group, conversations on behalf of housing, affordable housing as these young adults are beginning to kind of graduate and go into their job sector, infrastructure, public spaces, and even economic development, as some of them are planning to be small business owners. And I was, of course, championing City of Pasco to be the best place to be and reside and live and come and do business. Alongside with that, on Thursday, I was able to meet with the Tri-Cities Alianza Youth Leadership Council just on the third floor. And that was a phenomenal experience because there were 7 high school students who came out and it just presented a topic that was near and dear to their heart. And the topic that they wanted to talk about was teen drug abuse. And so that was really important to kind of hear the presentation about how their peers, peer pressure, and how a lot of these issues are affecting our schools and even our community. And so that was really important to kind of hear them out. And again, it was a really cool experience because I always said, as a high school student, I never thought that I was going to be in City Hall and talking to elected officials. So for them was a first time. Being able to have the opportunity was amazing. And then also, I was able to be at the 63rd annual Pasco Invite last Saturday, able to volunteer and help out in one of the biggest track and field events in the Pacific Northwest. So that was exciting to kind of help out in that element. So yeah, very busy, and it's always good to incorporate our young adults into this civic engagement process.
Thank you. Yes, and I also participated with Councilmember Campos. We had our first meeting with the recruiter for our police chief, and just really wanted to let you know I appreciate your heart and just what you're hoping our next leader looks like, whether they are internal or whether it's someone that we find nationwide, who knows, perhaps worldwide at that matter. But thank you, just as far as what we might be looking for and what we're interested in. Also had a BFCOG meeting, Council of Governments, on Friday that was an earlier than usual meeting to make time for those that wanted to go out to the Columbia Valley Recovery Center. But as Councilmember Perales kind of noted, even though there's a little tiff, I think, between our counties, we as a city do contribute a fair amount of our sales tax to that, and would have been nice to be a part of that. Also, yes, attended that LRA housing outreach meeting, and the next one is on Wednesday the 29th. And it's at 4:30 at McLaughlin Middle School. And I just encourage the citizens to come out. And I am booked. That's the only one I'm not going to be able to make. So hopefully there's a good representation of council there. I told the Tri-City Chamber of Commerce that I would be part of their C-suite interview process for young adults and everything like that. So and I made that commitment quite a while ago. But anyways, it is really good. I know some of the public is a little sees LRA housing and doesn't understand what that is, but is really the state imposing an unfunded mandate upon cities to take care of their sexual predators. That they have people there on site in those, but these homes, it's for people to resume what some would call a normal place in society. And whether we want to argue that or not's a whole other issue, but they want, the whole purpose of this is to put them around infrastructure and amenities and those kind of things we have within our community. The problem is that's around where also some of our most vulnerable people are. These are the state putting these sexual predators purposely within our neighborhoods, and it's we as council members can fight this, but it's really going to take the entire community, the entire Tri-Cities community. I am meeting with the other 3 mayors of the Quad Cities next week, and this is going to continue to be the topic of our discussion. But it's going to take the entire community. It's going to take more than just the councils. It's going to take 10, 20, 50,000 people to stand up and tell Olympia, the Department of Health and the Department of Corrections, no, do this another way. Don't do it on our dime. Don't do it in our cities. You figure this out. It's your problem, not ours. So I just hope the public, when we give that rally cry, that everyone comes around to fight this. Let's move on. Thank you, everybody, for your participation in the community. I know there's a lot going on. We're all being pulled in different directions. So anyways, number 8, hearings and council action and ordinances and resolutions relating thereto. Letter A is public hearing and ordinance number 4826, assuming powers of the Pasco Transportation Benefit District. And for this, we're going to our Deputy City Manager, Ms. Sigdell. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and evening, Council. We're here to talk about do a public hearing on the Transportation Benefit District. So if you'd like to, would you like me to do a presentation and then conduct a
Yes,
public
please.
hearing?
Thank
Okay.
you.
I will move through this pretty quickly since we've discussed this quite a bit. Transportation Benefit District is a special purpose district that funds transportation improvement projects in a specific area. So council could pick a specific area within the city, or the whole city could be the Transportation Benefit District. The City Council is the governing board of the district. and it can hold separate meetings as the district, but it can also decide to assume the powers of the Transportation Benefit District, which is the topic at play today. As we've discussed before, Transportation Benefit District, you can do vehicle license fees, also called car tab fees, or sales tax. And these are some benchmarks with our neighboring cities. And you'll see 0.2% in Walla Walla compared to 0.1% in Kennewick and Richland. That additional 0.1% would have to be voted in by the people for additional transportation projects. 1/10, council can apply just a councilmanic vote. The fund needed are mostly for transportation projects. So street fund, we had a robust discussion last week about need to do traffic calming, where that funding comes from. We have had motor vehicle fuel taxes, which thanks to efficient fuel efficient vehicles and also electric vehicles, that revenue is declining. Similarly, the street fund has received utility taxes, which includes cable and telephone taxes. Cell phones do not get taxed as a telephone, so as you can imagine, both of those revenues have been declining over the years as more people do not get cable or do not have a landline. So we need to find more revenue to preserve our streets and do other transportation projects, which has been a challenge. And the street fund is scheduled to be in the negative by the end of this biennium. So you'll see some of the numbers there. Also at the same time, making management of streets and street fund more difficult. Our road miles have grown quite significantly, and our crew size has essentially stayed the same because of that funding constraint. So today, what we are asking council, you have created the district, you have identified the whole city as the geographic boundary of that district. You set resolution for public hearing for the city's intention to assume powers of the Transportation Benefit District. You'll conduct a public hearing today, and then the item in front of you is assuming the powers of the Transportation Benefit District. And the reason that staff is recommending that you assume the powers is because it is the most administratively efficient way to go. You can make decisions like you are right now as a part of the city's business. If you chose not to do it, then you'd have to meet as a district, administratively more difficult. Our finance department has to create financial reports. Very likely the reports need to get audited, additional cost. So most of the cities, the 124 cities that have adopted or created Transportation Benefit District have assumed the powers for those reasons. It's just financially and time-wise more effective and efficient. So that is what we have for you to consider today. And with that, I'm open to any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions on council? Thank you. Deputy City Manager Richa for the presentation. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, let's open this public hearing at this point. This public hearing is open. We will take public comment on the City Council assuming powers of a Pasco Transportation Benefit District that in a month or two ago we actually voted to form. So the floor is open. If anybody in the council chambers would like to speak in this public hearing on the City Council assuming powers of the Pasco Transportation Benefit District, now is the time. Going once, going twice, 3 times, not seeing anybody coming forward. Closing the public hearing. Any further comments from council? If you would, I'd like to ask one follow-up question. Maybe this is better for our Public Works Director, Director Sarah. If we can go back a couple slides, I really think it's important for the public to see just the growth, just the next one forward, if you'd be so kind, please, about the growth. Road miles, 23% since 2015 and 43% 2010. So are we really saying that we have not added any employees to the street crew? Obviously, if someone retired, we added them, but is it really the same number of people?
Yes, that is correct. Same number of dedicated employees, and it's truly a funding constraint. We can't afford with this fund without subsidy from another fund to absorb any new employee.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate that clarification because I think it's important for the public to hear, because the public rightfully demands we are efficient with taxpayer dollars. I want that for my taxpayer dollars. And to see that our street crew size has remained unchanged since 2010, 16 years. And in that time, the mileage of roads has grown by 43%. It's truly a testament to yours and your predecessors just making it all work. So thank you, Director Sarah. I appreciate that. Anybody have any further questions or comments for staff? Hearing none, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 4826, assuming the rights, powers, functions, immunities, and obligations of the Pasco Transportation Benefit District, providing for servability and establishing an effective date, authorizing publication by summary only.
Second. Motion on the floor by the Mayor Pro Tem to adopt ordinance number 4826, seconded by Councilmember Perales. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Moving on, letter B. This is also a public hearing. I said there was only one earlier. We do have a second one. And ordinance numbers 4827 and 4828. This is the Emergency Comprehensive Plan Land Use Map Management, CPA 2025-002, Low Density Residential Land Use Changes and Rezone of RS20, and the newly added parcels with associated text amendments, CA 2025-006 and Z 2025-011. And for this, we are going to Ms. Mattson. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and thank you for bearing with the long title there. We did workshop this item back in February with the City Council. This is an emergency comprehensive plan amendment to rectify an inconsistency in code between the comprehensive plan and the RS20 zone. And there's some history shown on the screen that I've gone through. This has gone through a pretty extensive public process. The last time staff brought this forward to council for a decision on March 2nd. We had a request that came in to add 3 properties to this amendment. Those properties technically aren't an emergency comprehensive plan amendment, but staff reviewed it and felt that we would either need to be addressing that either with this or near the end of the year. So we figured it would be a lot more efficient for everyone involved, including staff, to include those 3 properties in this change. So I wanted to be clear on that. So we did add those 3 parcels that the mayor mentioned at the beginning in the title. And the map here shows the best depiction of where the changes are occurring. This is down in areas that are currently zoned for RS20. And that zone previously allowed for 2 units per acre to be constructed. And citywide, the comprehensive plan designation was 3 to 6 units. So there was a conflict, and we are now changing these areas shown in light yellow to redesignate the land use, which is also called the comprehensive plan designation, from 3 to 6 units per acre to allowing 2 to 5 units per acre. So we're reducing it on both ends by 1 unit. And then the zone that will replace the RS20 zone will now be RS15. And lot sizes will be reduced down to, I believe, 14,000, between 14 and 15,000 square feet. And the zone will allow 2 to 3 units per acre. So these are the areas, all of the areas included are the RS20 zone, and then those 3 additional parcels that were zoned, I believe RS12 before, in a higher density R1. So those 3 added parcels were going from a higher density to a lower density, which made staff feel that they could be incorporated into this pretty easily. We did, since the last meeting, need to retract the original SEPA notice and then process a new SEPA checklist for this. We've also revised both ordinances related to it. There's 2 separate motions here for this project. One is for the rezone and one is for the comprehensive plan amendment. And then had a public comment period. We did notice neighbors around those 3 properties just to be sure that they were notified. We did have a clarifying one comment from a neighbor asking, why are we increasing the density? And we let them know that the density was being reduced and didn't appear to have any issues. So didn't receive a lot of public feedback related to it. So tonight, a public hearing is required, even though it was held at the Planning Commission level, just for the whole thing, I would say, and the 3 extra properties. So asking that council hold a public hearing tonight and then consider approving the proposal in front of you and adopting both motions as read. And there's
Good evening, and it's July 20th, 2026, and welcome to the City of Pasco Council meeting. The council thanks you for being part of our city government. At meetings, the City Council takes formal actions on items, holds public hearings, and conducts other business of the city. Agenda packets are available at the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV, channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams webinar. This and previous council meeting video is available on the city's website. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. And with that, let's get a roll call.
Campos,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Figueroa,
Present.
Hernandez,
Present.
Perales,
Here.
Milne,
I am present.
Grimm.
And he is excused. So with that, we have the honor of having Troop 100 here with us tonight, and we are going to give them the honor of doing the Pledge of Allegiance and doing the flags. So, do you want to present it?
Will the audience please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard dismissed. Color guard reform ranks. Color guard dismissed. The audience may be seated.
All right. Well, thank you for your Troop 100 for your participation in our city government. It's an honor to have you here. So thank you. So with that, we're going to roll on to number 4, which is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by roll call vote as one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If further discussion is desired by the council members, the item may be removed from the consent agenda to the regular agenda and considered separately. So we have 4A, approval of meeting minutes for July 6th. 4B, bills and communications, approving claims in the total amount of $8,281,420.02. Resolution number 4764, Washington State Department of Transportation, detour agreement. Number 4D, Planning Commission appointment to appoint Sunny Vikabanku, hopefully I got that somewhat close, to position number 1. Term expiration date of 12/31/2027 to the Planning Commission. Number 4E, Loaf Disability Board appointment to appoint Jody Christensen to position number 3. Also has an expiration date of 7/15/2028 to the Loaf Disability Board. And number F, Pasco Public Facilities Board District Board reappointment and appointment to reappoint Marie Gillespie to position number 4 and appoint Craig Maloney to position number 5 to the Pasco Public Facilities District Board, with both terms expiring on 7/15/2030. So do we have any council members that would like to take anything out of the motion? Not seeing any of that. So Councilman Perales, can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second? Second. We got a motion on the floor by Councilman Perales, and we got a second by Councilman Campos. So if we could get the roll call.
Carter,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
and Milne.
I think you forgot Perales.
Perales
Yes.
and Campos.
Yes.
And then myself, yes. So, all right. So approved unanimously. So thank you for that. We're going to jump on to number 5, proclamations and acknowledgements. I'm not seeing any listed. So let's jump to number 6, Public comments. The public may address council on any items unless it relates to a scheduled public hearing. This item is provided to allow the opportunity to bring items to the attention of the city council or to express an opinion on an issue. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or for the purpose of questions with the expectation of an immediate response. Some questions require consideration by council over time and after a deliberate process with input from a number of different sources. Some questions are best directed to staff members who have access to specific information. Citizen comments will normally be limited to 3 minutes each by the mayor. There's a little timer up there. Kind of can't really see it with the flag, but it is there. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and or submit written information for consideration by the council aside of formal meetings. Lastly, when called upon, please state your name and city or county residency into the microphone before providing your comments. And with that, is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment or have their opinion? All right.
Good evening. My name is Mariana Marquez Sidal, and I am the Scoutmaster for Troop 100, whose scouts range in ages from 11 to 19 years old. It is an honor to be here today representing our troop in Scouting America, formerly known as Boy Scouts of America. One of our Eagle required merit badges, citizenship in the community, requires scouts to attend a city council meeting and learn about the role of local government. We sincerely thank you for providing our scouts with the opportunity to observe local government in action and to share their perspectives with you. This evening, several of our scouts will briefly represent their thoughts and ideas. Thank you for your time, your service to our community, and your commitment to civic engagement. We appreciate the opportunity to be here and are grateful for this valuable learning experience for our scouts. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, thank you. And can you make sure that the microphone is on if any of your, okay. Okay, usually it like has a little red light up, but push the button. Okay, now it's on.
So red means on.
Now we can hear you, but I did hear you fine, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Michelle Andrews, resident of City of Pasco. Glad to see there's a new person on the left board. It's the left board. As you know, the Ferguson and Company swept $4 billion out of that. Left One, which my husband is a member of, and he is a volunteer, and he did not put me up to this. This is my thoughtful, long, not really wanting to come here and say what I have to say. He serves as a volunteer. Left One is a pension. Most of the people on that do not have Social Security. This city made a commitment to pay for those bills that Medicare does not pay for. And yet an attorney was sent to that room saying, the RCW say you don't have to do this. Well, I object on behalf of many people that are on their last legs, that are struggling, nickeling and diming, whether they're going to pay for TV or what in a nursing home. Some of you have not been here that long. Our new city manager has not been here that long, but that is a commitment that this place made. And I understand maybe you've done some audits because I demand it. If you're going to cut those people that pull up on accidents, crack babies dying, being born on the porch like my husband for 31 years, you better think again. These people served, missed holidays, birthdays, and somebody's sent there to say, well, you don't have to because of the RCW? We had a family member in a terrible accident on court. 40 miles an hour, hit a brick wall. She was not conscious. Something happened. Now, those same people that are serving you now, if that had happened at Road 100 and Court, there's 2 massive speed bumps that somebody with 2 broken arms, a shattered ankle, 9 broken ribs, and a brain bleed would have to go over. Those speed bumps don't belong there. That is a throughway. That is not a neighborhood. Now we're trying to seek video and all kinds of things. It's really hard unless you go personally to the offices to get anybody to answer the phones. All the while, across from my house, you don't have the proper animal control and code enforcement. I have had 3 dogs from the same house hit and killed right there in court in 76. Goats were out recently. Now 5 chickens are in my yard regularly. You drive right through it, Mr. Mill. You're my representative. They run water. They don't turn it off. It just runs into the new house, which happens to be my kids, in their new home, right into their foundation. And furthermore, they were given access to a sewer because they were on septic. And I said, you know, I saw a little backhoe thing right where that's supposed to connect and work being done, but I don't see any permit. There's a lot of revenue, unfortunately, to enforcing, but it would come into our city. So when you're cutting things and you're not standing up to your obligations and you're putting our public servants that go out there and try to save lives that have to reroute around speed bumps that you won't even put in a neighborhood where it was deservedly belonged, I have to come tonight and object. You run a winery, you run construction, you run a tool
I think
thing.
we're over your limit.
Okay.
So
I think
I
I've
appreciate
made
your
my
comments
point.
and I appreciate your husband's service, and we have had talks about this, but yeah, I appreciate it. Anybody else in the audience that would like to make a comment?
Hello, thank you for being here tonight. My name is Andrea Dominguez and I live in Pasco. I am from Troop 100 and tonight I will be talking about after school activities. As we know, the school district is spending money on learning and it is very important to acknowledge that, but after school is just as important. So picture this. You spend weeks working, promoting, and giving up your own personal time for clubs, but just for one day, it just being closed due to budget cuts. But who's to blame? Clearly not Pasco School District. It's not their fault they don't have enough funding, nor the city of Pasco. They don't have anything to do with it. Some organizations help with this, with the growing problem. One notable example is Parks and Rec. They do a lot for the community. For example, they have safe spaces, free to low cost activities, and so much more. But some families don't get access to these things. These things for some reasons like transportation or no family around to take them to these things. And that is why I'm here to ask for these organizations to be able to expand and be more accessible to schools, students, and people all over Pasco. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your nice comments. Was there any other members of Troop 100 that would like to make a comment?
Good evening, Council. My name is Camila, and I am from Pasco. And today I want to speak about something that affects all of us, keeping our community safe by maintaining grass, weeds, and vacant fields. I believe our city and county should be more consistent when it comes to making sure properties are properly maintained. During the summer, especially here in Pasco, temperatures rise quickly. Dry grass, weeds, and neglected fields can become a serious fire hazard. It only takes one spark from a vehicle, a cigarette, or even faulty equipment to start a fire that spreads rapidly through dry vegetation. I think property owners, especially those with larger pieces of land, should have their properties inspected once or twice a year. These inspections wouldn't have to be complicated. They would simply make sure that dead grass has been cut, weeds are under control, and fire hazards have been reduced. Most property owners already take pride in caring for their land, but regular inspections would help ensure everyone is doing their part to protect the community. If a property is found to be poorly maintained and the owner does not address the problem after being notified, I believe there should be a fine. The goal isn't to punish people right away, but to encourage responsibility and prevent dangerous situations before they happen. A small effort in maintaining a property can make a huge difference in preventing fires. And if rules like this already exist, then they should be enforced more consistently. Laws only work when they are followed and enforced. When regulations are ignored, dry fields continue to build up, increasing the risk to nearby homes, businesses, wildlife, and even the firefighters who put themselves in danger to protect us. Preventing fires is much easier and much less expensive than responding to them. Keeping our community safe is a shared responsibility. Thank you for your time, and I hope you'll join me in supporting stronger enforcement of property maintenance to help keep Pasco safe.
All right. Thank you for your comments. All right. I think there was another couple of gentlemen in the back.
Hello, everyone. Mitch Snow, Pasco. I was going to thank the mayor for meeting with me this week, along with Detective Taylor, taking the time. As you guys know, I've been going through some serious problems here, serious concerns, and been waiting for some action to be taken. I have in front of me some disturbing evidence of where the people that broke into my house have admitted to breaking in before, multiple times. They're literally getting online and mocking about it. Making other threats. And still nobody has put any cuffs on them, or even contacted them or looked into them. I really hope that's going to change soon. I'll be handing this information off. But something has to change with what's going on with our policing. It shouldn't take this much. There's definitely a double standard going on. I also have the information here when I was arrested with no information, with no evidence, no anything. Kidnapped in the middle of the night, taken. Months of my life taken away. Ain't nobody stepped up to even say they're sorry, or we were wrong, or go after those who lied. And now they're blatantly doing it. And that's all happened here. I really hope we see a change. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments. I'll let Mayor Grimm know that you stopped by. So thank you. Do you have any members also of the audience? The lady in the back.
Hi, I'm Natalie Williams, and I'm from Pasco, and I wanted to come in support of the data center moratorium, and I see that you've listed other types of computing centers and things, and so I found this very comforting that they thought of different types of computing centers and even cryptocurrency on your ordinance 4850. So the mayor had talked to me. I'm concerned that the Walla Walla data center is going to be utilizing our agreement from 12 years ago to process their wastewater. And so and at first he wasn't sure that was a thing, and then came back to me and said that indeed that could happen. And so I'm just really happy that you guys are entertaining this, because I'm worried that we're not going to have safe, clean drinking water if something like this, if these types of things keep getting passed. And I just want to make sure that we're not having to haul in clean water, and we need to be able to bathe with water and things like that. So, and that our agriculture is protected, along with people having access to electricity first before a massive data center. Thank you.
Appreciate the comments and appreciate city staff also sending us some information on that as well, so thank you. Guess you on the blue shirt?
Hi, my name's Dennis Brown from Pasco, Washington. Lived here over 15 years and another 25 in Kennewick. I graduated in 1976. 6 months later, I was working for Lamson. They gave me a grease gun. They showed me how to put cranes together. A year after that, I was driving them over the old Green Bridge. I've been around a while. Lamson, Neil Lamson, lived down the road a country block away from me. 10 city blocks. 1 country block. We had discussions. His company grew into one of the biggest ones in the world. You know how he did it? He got people together. How can we do this? How can we assemble a crane? How can we get it apart without taking apart 5 different pieces just to get to one? Between the crane operators, the iron workers, the engineers, the safety guy, everybody all sitting around getting together. How do we put a crane together in a better configuration? My first 7 years with Lamson was great. I worked with some of the smartest people I've ever met. The people I worked with, the crane operators. I'm cashing my checks at the Bridgeview Tavern on the Kennewick side of the old Green Bridge. I was 19 years old. They were cashing my checks for me. I sat in that tavern and I learned how to operate a crane by how not to operate a crane. The stories those guys had, epic. Laughing, rolling on the floor. On that note, the professionalism that was involved, in spite of all the fun we were having, we worked our butts off. We busted knuckles. We didn't have the tools we have now today. Lamson got everybody together, and we helped build the biggest crane company in the world. When I come to the city of Pasco, how do I get something done? Who am I working with? The next 40 years, I'm working with contractors that didn't have a clue. They kept trying to kill me, putting me on unsafe equipment. They had to kill a lawyer in Seattle before they required crane operators to get certifications. All I'm asking for is curb ramps to help me get in and out of my driveway without destroying my equipment. Here's a bill for over $1,000, rack and pinion, suspension, CV axle joints. I've been over that curb 9,000 times since I've lived in that house. I'm representing a lady that got a terrible note. At the end, maximum monetary penalty for each separate violation per day. We're neighbors. Why do you I wouldn't send this letter to my neighbor. Why don't you get together, work with her, see what she's got, take a look at what she has going, and instead of giving her a code violation, talk to her. See if you can't work something out. Neil Lamson did it.
Thank you for your comment on Neil Lamson. I didn't know that, so thank you. And I'd recommend if you'd like to turn in some paperwork, give it to the clerk, and then they could send it off to the city council so we could actually read what's going on. But I do appreciate your comments. I appreciate you coming down here. So thank you. All right. Is there anybody else in the audience that would, you gentlemen?
Hello, I'm Jason Malloy, not a member of Troop 100, but the general manager of the Pasco Resource Recovery Center. Council members and staff, thanks to those who toured the Resource Recovery Center this past week. We certainly appreciated the opportunity to show you our operation, how we support the city's processed water reuse facility. For anyone who could not attend, of course, the invitation remains open. I'll provide a brief quarterly update, as I'll do each quarter going forward, to promote transparency and accountability. In Q2, Burnham finished the quarter $275,000 under budget, and now roughly $500,000 under the annual budget through the first half of 2026. Those results are driven by continuous improvement, with one such example being reduced digester heating cost. Burnham operated both digesters below the manufacturer's targeted temperature range and maintained strong, better than expected performance. This was achieved through meticulous, data-driven process with extensive collaboration between operations, our engineers, and third-party experts. Looking ahead, our third quarter priority is maintaining availability and maximizing renewable natural gas uptime, as strong gas revenues in the peak season is critical for containing the city's treatment costs, and our team stands ready. Burnham continues to invest time and resources into trying to make the city's proposed nitrogen removal system work. We are targeting the completion of performance testing this quarter. In addition, Burnham will fund the first phase of engineering for an alternative solution to ensure the city has the best information available while determining the path forward. Based on our analysis thus far, the sequencing batch reactor Burnham originally proposed to remove nitrogen may ultimately prove to be the best long-term solution. Thank you for your partnership, and as always, I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that report. It is much appreciated. And thank you for trying to cut costs. We love to hear that on the council. All right. Please step right up.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. I am Elaine Hetherington, and I live here in Pasco. Tonight, I am here as a member of the League of Women Voters of Benton and Franklin counties, and I'm here to encourage everyone in Pasco to that's eligible to vote to participate in this year's election. In the coming weeks, the ballots have begun arriving in our mailboxes, so don't set them aside or forget about them. Open them up. Take some time to review the candidates and the ballot measures, and use as many nonpartisan resources available to help you make the informed decisions. After you've completed your ballot, remember to carefully sign it and date it and return your ballot. Thousands of ballots across Washington are challenged each election because of missing or mismatched signatures or other simple mistakes. So take an extra moment to help ensure your ballot is counted. So if you choose to mail your ballot, which no postage is necessary, but you need to at least mail it by July 27th to allow plenty of time for delivery. Even better, use one of our secure county ballot drop boxes before 8 p.m. on Election Day, which is August 4th. So there's one at 404 West Clark, on 4th and on the courthouse parking lot, on Hapo, the corner of 3rd and West Clark, and on Road 84. But your voter's pamphlet has all the lists of all the drop boxes also, so they're nicely located there. And there's also a drop box in Connell, Mesa, and Colotis. And other Franklin County election officials, only Franklin County election officials empty those ballot boxes. By casting your own ballot is the only part of being an engaged citizen. So, but you're supposed to encourage your families and friends and neighbors and coworkers to vote as well. Offer to answer any questions about the voting process. Remind others of secure drop boxes or point them towards trusted nonpartisan election information. Small conversations can make a big difference. So Pasco is one of the fastest growing communities in Washington, and our voice should be reflecting not only in our population, but also in our voter participation. So every election is an opportunity to demonstrate that our community is informed, engaged, and committed to shaping its future. So let's work together to increase voter participation in Pasco and show the rest of the Tri-Cities what civic engagement looks like. Thank you for your time and your service to the community.
All right. Thank you. And hopefully everybody listens to that, because it is an important part of our democratic institution to go out and vote. So again, thank you for that. And again, thank you for all your work with the different forums for the candidates. It was a lot of fun to hear those, so thank you. Is there any members also of the audience that would like to make a comment? Going once, going twice.
Good evening, council members. I'm Amber Wade. Why no one is here? We are here, we are here. Can you see we are here? You asked us to come, we came despite our fear. One voice stood shaking, then one stood strong. One carried questions they'd carried too long. One spoke of water, one spoke of streets, one spoke of children, one spoke of empty seats. The room stood listening, the room was alive. For one brief moment, hope survived. People walked home believing one thing. Maybe this time. Morning arrived, the sidewalks were cracked, the meetings kept meeting, the facts stayed the facts. The neighbors grew older, the children grew tall, the silence spoke louder than speeches at all. We are here, can you see we are here? If showing up matters, why are we here? Then fluoride was spoken, the room overflown. Every chair was taken, every story was heard. Richland reached out, Pasco stepped back. One city asked, one city declined. We are here, we're here, can you see we are here? 3 minutes waited, the countdown turned green. Your eyes watched the seconds before hearing me. Every speaker is more than a name, more than an issue, more than a claim. I learned how to stand, I learned how to speak. By 13 years old, week after week. Boarding schools, classes by classes, every word meant to last. I was recorded, I was corrected. Again, Amber, again and again. How to stand, how to speak, how to hold a room each week. Where pause, where smile. How to listen all the while. I learned every lesson, I learned every part. To speak with my voice, to lead with my heart. Then life changed courses. My health changed too. The lessons are still there. They just don't break through. The thoughts still gather, the message is clear, but somewhere between, it's slowly hard getting here. So if I pause or I search for a word, don't mistake the struggle for having no voice. Don't mistake the silence for having no fight. We are here, we're here. Can you see we are here? One chair sat empty, then 5, then 10. The room kept shrinking, though we became me. People asked, why isn't this room full? One stayed home, one stayed late, one lost hope, one lost faith. One stopped asking, one stopped trying, one stopped laughing, one stopped crying. One less neighbor, one less friend, one less story near the end. One more meeting, one more year, one more voice, hard to hear. Can you see we are here?
Can we wrap this up?
We came with hope, we left with doubt. One by one, the lights went out. We're not here. We're not here. Can you see why we're not here?
All right, thanks for the well-written poem. Is there anybody else before we move on to verbal reports? Third final call? All right, well, with that, we're going to move on to number 7, which is reports from committees and or officers. So has anybody been busy this last week? Let's start with Councilman Cotta.
Yeah, I was able to tour the processed water reuse facility. Jason was my tour guide. I was the only one that day, so it was a private tour. But it was really good. Jason's really competent, and it was wonderful to listen to what they're doing here. Obviously, the issue is we're not getting enough nitrogen out of the water, and so we're working on solutions to that issue. The other thing I did today was attend the data center meeting held on by the Chamber of Tri-Cities. And, it was very pro data center, but there were 4 panelists there that all have responsibilities in their respective fields with the data centers. It was good to listen to them. They gave us a lot of good information. Really, there's a lot of questions not answered, but it was good. It was a good foundational meeting. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that report. Maybe when we get to that part, you could bring up some of the positives, because I haven't heard a lot of positives on the data centers. All I hear is the negatives. But anyway, any other members of the council? Not. Let's go with Councilman Figueroa.
Yeah, just to echo, I wasn't on that day that you went. Mr. Cotter, but a few of us went the following day, and same thing. We got to kind of tour the facility and really get to hear kind of the process and everything else, and see all the good work that kind of this relationship is bringing in, the collaboration between the city and Burnham and all that stuff. So kind of same sentiments, looking forward to see the process fully be effective and efficient. And same, was able to attend the Regional Advocacy Roundtable. Same things here, some of the pros, I guess, for data centers, but also just kind of the economic impacts and all those different things. So definitely looking for a fruitful discussion when we hit that agenda item. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I look forward to going out there as well. Just I was with my family this last week, so family takes kind of precedence over other things. But not seeing any other lights on, so let's jump on to number 8. Hearings and council actions on ordinance and resolutions related to there too. Public meeting resolution number 4765, accepting a notice of intent to commence annexation Goodwin 10% annexation petition ANX 2026-002. And we're going to have Deputy Director Craig Raymond.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Good evening. Let me get to the right page here. On May 22nd, 2026, Daisy Harris of Core States, on behalf of Larry and Malvina Goodwin, submitted a notice of intent to commence annexation proceedings. The subject site is just over 6 acres in size and is located within the Broadmoor Master Plan boundary between Harris Road and Highway 182, as shown on this map. The property is currently designated as medium-density residential. As you'll see over the coming weeks, the annexation process comes with several formal and incremental steps in order to process an annexation proposal from start to finish. For the vast majority of Pasco's annexation proposals, we receive petitions signed by the owners of at least 10%, which is actually the statutory minimum. But commonly we get 100% ownership of the value of the property proposed to be annexed. If accepted, the applicant is required to submit a formal petition with signatures covering at least 60% of the annexation area. That petition then gets sent in for a formal sufficiency review by the Franklin County Assessor's Office to certify that the signatures indeed meet the minimum 60% requirement. Many times, as I just mentioned, as is the case with this particular proposal, we receive petitions from 100% of the ownership, as typically there's only one ownership entity involved in the annexation request. It's at this point that the annexation project is placed on the hearing examiner's docket to consider the proposed zoning that is being requested to be applied to the property subsequent to the approval of the annexation. Should it be approved, the hearing examiner will conduct a public hearing and then ultimately makes a recommendation to the city council regarding the proposed zoning. After receiving the hearing examiner recommendation, the city council will then hold an additional public hearing and consider the final annexation and zoning ordinances. Upon passage, staff coordinates, assuming that's passed, staff coordinates final notification with the State Office of Financial Management, Franklin County, as well as other agencies. For this project, on July 6, 2026, the City Council adopted Resolution 4762, which was actually on the consent agenda, setting this evening as the date to consider the notice of intent to commence the annexation proceedings. As part of the process this evening, the City Council must either accept, reject, or geographically modify the annexation area or boundaries, whether to adopt simultaneous zoning regulations, and whether to require the assumption of any city indebtedness upon annexation under the city limits. For council's consideration, staff submits Resolution 4765 that accepts the annexation petition, approves the annexation areas as submitted, requires the proposal to proceed through a hearing and review process to determine the zoning, and requires the property to assume a proportionate share of existing city indebtedness upon annexation. And thank you. I'm available for any questions.
All right. Well, thank you for that report. Anybody have questions before I do the public meeting, conduct the public meeting? All right. Well, with that, we're going to open it up for a public meeting. So if there's anybody in the audience that would like to talk on this issue, please step forward. I'm not seeing too many people jump up. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, well, let's close the public meeting. And with that, Councilman Perales, can I get a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 4765, accepting the notice of intent to commence annexation proceedings for the Goodwin annexation for parcel number 118180157, parcel 1 of AFN 456145, located south of Harris Road and north of Interstate 182, southwest of the future Road 108 and Harris Road intersection in section 18, Township 9 North, Range 29, EWM, establishing the proposed annexation boundary and determining whether simultaneous zoning and the assumption of bond and indebtedness will be required.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Perales and a second by Councilman Cotta. Do we have any questions? No? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, that one passes unanimously. Thank you for that. Let's go on to 8B. Public hearing ordinance number 4848, R15 to RS12, Frontage Improvement Code Amendments. And again, take it back to you, Deputy Director Craig.
Thank you very much. And I'll try not to be overly repetitive tonight on this agenda item, but given that there may be interested parties here for the public hearing, which are here or watching for the first time on this matter, I'll briefly recap some of the information. As I mentioned last week, one notable item is that the old zoning district known as RS20 is now referred to as R15 after Ordinance 4828 was adopted back in April. I think it was also mentioned at that time what we're discussing tonight would be effective in the new R15 zone. The city once had a similar regulatory threshold some time ago that you are considering this evening, which was rescinded though back in 2019 through Ordinance 4454A. Here's an updated map depicting the affected areas under discussion. The mustard colored areas are the new R15 zone area, and the lime green are the RS12 zoned areas. I think the two primary motivations to consider the exemption is based on lower initial redevelopment cost. And there may be some cases where traffic volumes may not necessarily be proportionate to the immediate need. Additionally, some may prefer a more open, informal streetscape and desire to see the city neighborhood or the neighborhood character to remain as it is. The city's comprehensive plan calls for a full interconnected street, trail, and access network. Multimodal transportation is another area of emphasis that will require greater focus in the coming years. The city has been working with the county in order to require infrastructure build-outs within the UGA area that match what has been adopted policy through the comp plan. When the city inherits an area that is being annexed, and if it doesn't match our requirements, it's very difficult and cost prohibitive to update the existing infrastructure to correct these deficiencies. In 2018, the City Council adopted Ordinance 4389, which established a complete streets policy, which is committed to the safe and usable network of connected streets, sidewalks, and multimodal transportation systems. Exempting improvements in these areas directly conflict with this policy. And also, in as much as we desire to preserve existing neighborhood character, House Bill 1110 allows for 4 to 6 units per lot on existing lots, thereby considerably increasing the density above what we currently see. In some cases, current right-of-way width may not be sufficient to serve that new growth. Even in the absence of infrastructure improvement requirements at initial development, at a minimum, right-of-way dedication should be the baseline requirement. Obtaining right-of-way in the future subsequent to development becomes extremely difficult and cost prohibitive. As in most cases, there are pros and cons to any proposal, and on the plus side, the exemptions will definitely lower development costs for builders in these zones, thereby reducing the immediate burden on individual property owners. On the concerning side, the exemptions would undermine UGA city standard arguments, would conflict with our complete streets policy, potentially create pedestrian traffic safety risks, especially as the affected areas continue to experience higher density redevelopment in the coming years. Additionally, due to the number and size of existing lots in these areas, with our current traffic impact analysis policy, new plats and development will likely never trigger a TIA because they will not generate the number of trips necessary in order to require a TIA, thereby potentially creating gaps in traffic and pedestrian safety systems. At this time, staff requests that the City Council conduct a public hearing and consider Ordinance 4848. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Anybody on the dais make a comment before we open up the public hearing? I'm not seeing any, so with that, let's conduct a public hearing. Anybody in the audience that would like to talk on this, the ordinance number 4848, please, now is your chance. Step right up, Mrs. Andres.
Michelle Andrews. When you plan these different zones, there's an overbuild. That's what happened on Sylvester. There used to be a flow-through traffic area. It's not a neighborhood. And yes, there were hearings and people voted. I didn't hear anything about it. I didn't get to weigh in. And again, emergency vehicles need to have access to things. That's a problem when you got two big humps in the road. So I'm very concerned about overbuilding in areas that don't need it. I'm very concerned about some of the density that we do have being added to Road 76 just north of Court. I can't emphasize enough that taxpayers are paying for that. And I can't really say much more than that, but it just seems like we're overbuilding. Yes, we're one of the fastest growing counties in the country, but when you actually slow us down and make neighborhoods out of thoroughfares and put up a lot of sidewalks like in Sylvester, well, I don't think the boat race benefits from that. That's a community builder. And so now people are have to park way away, hike with kids and inner tubes and wagons and tents just to see a nice boat race for a couple of days. So just keep that in mind. It has to make sense for everyone, not just that neighborhood.
All right, thank you for those comments. Anybody else in the audience like to make a comment on 4848? Going once, going twice, going three times. Okay, let's close the public hearing. Do we have any questions or comments by anybody on the dais? I know this issue right here, we're actually trying to lower density, which is what I think a lot of people in the Riverview area are asking for, to limit people buying up one house and then putting it into 12 houses in that same piece of property. So it's very concerning to us on the council that we want to keep our districts and our neighborhoods the same and kind of give more of a feel to it than what the state wants. So I think that's the whole purpose of ordinance number 48. So with that, I'll turn it over to Councilman Perales, and I'm sure he has some comments on this as well.
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick comment, but you pretty much said everything that I was going to say because we've been hearing about this for so long, even before I was on council, and I think this just provides a good balance in regards to policies, and I appreciate the staff giving us the presentation, giving us the pros and cons, but I think sometimes as cities and with our home rule authority, we need to push back on some of the densification that we keep getting hit on to, hey, this is what you got to do. In that area, I believe it has a rural feel, suburban feel, and that's why people move there. They don't move there to one day see a 100-unit apartment complex across the street from them. So this is just a policy, and I hope it works out. I think it's going to provide some relief to developers in the area, especially in that Riverview area. And so I think that this is going to be a sound policy moving forward, but we will see. And if it doesn't, some future council can obviously reverse it. So with that, I again appreciate the staff working on this. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd also like to follow up that. I do appreciate staff on this one. It's always nice when the council says stuff and we actually get it back from the staff in a timely manner, so thank you for that. Anybody else before we do the vote? I'm not seeing any. Councilman Figueroa.
I just want to add on, the sentiments is, I think that one of the things that we've kind of talked about as we were new council and kind of everybody else here getting situated with one another is the importance of being consistent through and through. I mean, when I gathered the information and everything else, right, there was already councils that approved our complete streets policy, and we're going back and we're going to undo that, and then we're in a comprehensive plan and everything else. We want multimodal transportation and connection and sidewalks, but then with this action, if it goes through, then we're kind of taking that back out. So there really isn't a consistent layout moving forward, right? We kind of try to pick and choose what we like. It was my understanding when it comes to this, it was going to be a small segment, like the River area, but now looking at this map, this is like a lot of the city of Pasco, kind of on, you know, so what's the long-term implications, right? We have to look into that. I really don't like saying, hey, the next future council is going to deal with it, because look at how we feel, right, with some of these issues that we feel like previous councils, for whatever reason, didn't decide to tackle some of the issues, but we have to, right? So my mindset is always, how do we leave this better than how we found it for the future council, so that they're able to say, hey, we're thankful for those council members, you know, that they really set us up pretty good, instead of like, oh man, we wish they would have done something else about it. So that's my concern when it comes to this, is are we being consistent with our plans that we have in place, that we've adopted, moving forward, right? Because then are we going to have to go back and redo it because it doesn't fit our comprehensive plan, or we're not at par? I appreciate that the pushing back and all stuff, but like what is the neighborhood character that we want throughout the city? Do we want people to be connected, or are we just going to pick and choose what is consistent for our beliefs or our views? So that's kind of my questions, and I would definitely open up more for debate and discussion to take out the more sentiments about this topic.
Thank you, Councilman Figueroa. I know in the past on other previous councils, there's been issues like with Terra Vita as far as putting stuff that part of the council didn't agree with, and actually it didn't go there. I don't know, I can definitely explain it offline, but again, there is times where the councilman really does try to hear councilmen or council members, what their ideas of their districts, and then try to implement it. And that's one of the greatest things about our council, is that I think that we all try to work together, and we're not in it just for ourselves. We're actually really trying to make the people, when they buy in a certain area, keep the feel of that area. Obviously, things aren't perfect. Sometimes things happen. But overall, I do believe everybody on the dais really cares about their constituents and what's best for Pasco as a whole, even if the state doesn't want it. So anyway, if there's any other comments, if I could get a motion, Councilman Prowse.
Yeah, I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 484A, amending Pasco Municipal Code, PMC Title 12.04, required sidewalk and driveway improvements, Title 12.36, concurrency, and Title 21.15, complete streets policy, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Got a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Perales. We have a second by Councilman Cotta. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, so it's 5-1. All right, moving on to ordinance number 9. Ordinance and resolutions not related to hearings. We got 9A, ordinance number 4849, creating chapter 3.31 of the Pasco Municipal Code, local income tax. And we are going to have a report by our city manager, Harold Stewart.
Evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I'll be brief on this. Last regular council meeting, City Council directed staff to bring this ordinance back, so it's before you this evening. As far as I'm aware, staff has not made any changes to the ordinance since it was discussed and researched previously. So with that, I'd stand for any questions of the council.
All right, so on questions, let's start off with Councilman Browns.
No question. Just appreciate us taking up this topic. I think it's of the times. I saw that initiative did get the votes, and so the millionaires tax repeal will be on the ballot in November. This is just, I'm fine with the people of my district and of the city who don't want to see an income tax, whether it's at the state level or local level. There's pros and cons to an income tax, but I think this state and our community has said no to it for so long, and I think this is just an ability for us to, again, put in a process where if a future council wants to do this, they have to have public input, and they have to talk about it, they have to have council meetings. So this is, to me, this is what this is doing. You know, I don't know what the economic forecast is going to be in the next 10, 20 years. Maybe perhaps the state and local, at the end of the local level, have to put one in. I don't know. But I think the people should have an say. And so this is kind of what it is. And I appreciate the staff working on this and bringing it out from 2022 to now. And hopefully this passes tonight. And again, I just really appreciate the staff's time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. Yeah, I do appreciate that it came so quickly upon our agenda, so thank you for that. Any other comments? I am not seeing any, so if I could get a motion, Councilman Morales.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4849, creating a new chapter 3.31 of the Pasco Municipal Code entitled Local Income Tax within Title 3 Revenue and Finance of the Pasco Municipal Code to impose a local income tax on the residents and businesses of the city of Pasco, providing for severability and establish an effective date.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, so we got a motion on the floor by Councilman Morales, got a second by Councilman Cotta. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, that one passes 6-0. Jumping on to 9B, which is ordinance number 4850, imposing a 6-month moratorium on license and permits related to new data centers, cryptocurrency mining facilities, blockchain computing facilities, and artificial intelligence computing facilities on. And again, this time will go to Deputy Director Craig Raymond.
Thank you very much again. As most people are now aware, permitting and construction of facilities I'll generally refer to as data centers, but you read the entire list of, you know, everything included. They're rapidly expanding across the country, including Washington State and definitely within our region. There's a lot of urgency in both the expansion of the data center infrastructure due to the ever-increasing demand and increasing capacity. And on the flip side, there can be significant opposition to some of these facilities due to the concerns of the impact to the communities they're located in. Currently, here in the city of Pasco, data centers are allowed by right within the I-2 and the I-3 zoning districts. Standard zoning regulations do apply, such as setbacks, height, lot coverage, landscaping, and parking requirements, as well as standard concurrency requirements, such as providing or proving that adequate water, wastewater, and other utility infrastructure capacity exists to serve the facilities and not unduly impair the planned growth of the community moving forward. At the request of council, staff has prepared ordinance 4850 to impose a 6-month moratorium on the acceptance and processing of licenses and permits related to new data center facilities, excuse me, declaring an emergency and directing staff to develop and return land use regulations of such facilities within 6 months. I'm here for any questions and would welcome feedback from the council on initial thoughts and expectations and what those regulations might address. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that report. Let's start off with, when it comes to questions or comments, let's start off with Councilman Perales.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The only question I had was in regards to the alternatives. You cited an interim emergency ordinance, essentially in lieu of moratorium. What's the difference between that and the moratorium?
I think just coming up with some draft regulations in place of a moratorium.
Okay. I think that's where my head's at. I think using the moratorium in the meeting a week or two ago was kind of strong language, in my opinion. I know some people want to just a straight up moratorium, but my intent is I think there's pros and cons to this. And so either drafting some newer language, some newer codes, and perhaps even, like I indicated, talking with some of our local municipalities over in the Umatilla area, Hermiston, Boardman, where we're seeing these data centers go up. I think that should be on the table. Essentially, maybe perhaps creating not a task force, but obviously you guys already have, we already have staff to do that, but just going out and getting a lot more information. Because I think the biggest issue that I'm seeing in the last couple of weeks is that there is a lot of misinformation about these data centers. I think there is, again, there's lots of pros in regards to economic development, but there's also negatives in regards to what they perhaps can do to the environment. I did reach out to some of my counterparts in those areas that I mentioned, Umatilla, Boardman, and you know, honestly, they didn't tell me any negatives. And these are rural communities, and so we kind of see this stuff on TV or on social media that these data centers are coming in and just tearing up rural areas. And in some, at least in our area, it's not really the case. And so, I just want to get the right information so that we can share it with our constituents. If and when we decide to perhaps put a moratorium, if perhaps we get a package of information that is just all negative, then I think it'd be prudent for us to say no to them. But if we get something that says, there's some mitigations that we can put in place that will keep our environment safe, that ensure that our residents are paying skyrocketing electricity bills, water bills, then I think there's a framework that we can work with these data center vendors and stuff. And so that would be my recommendation, would be to do that in interim emergency ordinance rather than a full blown out moratorium. And so that's where I'll leave it at with the rest of the council.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have any other members of the dais that would like to? Oh, didn't see it. Councilman Gata.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I got to attend the Tri-City Chamber Data Center meeting today. And it was a very pro data center kind of a meeting. They gave us a lot of good information in the sense that, well, this is the amount of power that our facilities are currently using, and it's really not that much. The questions were asked about use of power and use of water and how they can compete with cities for those resources. And honestly, data centers come in all shapes and sizes. And so honestly, as long as there's a plan to supply that power and water, I'm not sure those are really the issues. There was only one question that had time to be asked, and that was a regulatory question. How do we expect to be able to supply the power and water that's needed for these data centers when the state legislature is imposing so much restriction on hydropower and reducing power in general, restricting the use of it. Gas power, others. And there was really no answer to that. The facility that was routinely mentioned was the one in Quincy, the Microsoft data center there. And the numbers on it looked really good. Like it really wasn't a problem for the city there, and the resources that it was taking up, it says about 5% of the water supply. And some other numbers, I think it said they were around maybe 60 megawatts. In their measure, but the thing is, the facility is 20 years old, and so those aren't the ones that we're having issue with. People weren't shouting about this 20 years ago like they are now, and so to me, the questions that need to be answered have to do with wastewater. The wastewater wasn't even discussed today, and then there's all the EMF, all things going on there with the radiation there and how that's affecting people, and there are all kinds of complaints about that, and we don't have any data on that. And so a moratorium seems really wise in the sense that we need to wait, we need to get more information so we don't start creating situations where we're building things that we can't support. Maybe the issue isn't resources, but it's regulatory. But we have to have everything aligned to be able to perform, supply the needs of a data center. And again, if it's a small data center, then it's really not that big of a deal. So it's not like a restriction against all data centers, but how much power is it going to require? Who's putting it in? How likely are they to work with the city, and so that we're not competing for resources, those kinds of things. And it does look like there are health issues that need to be investigated that we don't know the answers to yet.
Thank you for that. Again, I know I have my own concerns, especially when it seems like the state always wants us to go to electric vehicles, get rid of gas, and then they put in all these bike lanes. So it's like, are you trying to tell us that we're all going to be riding bikes? Maybe we'll lose some weight. But anyway, it does kind of get kind of scary when they're talking data centers and then mass power too. So they would have more of a control over us. But that's my own two thoughts there on that one. Let's go to Councilman Figueroa on this.
Yeah, so on the topic of data centers, I think that it was also pretty good information to get from today's roundtable. And I had also had other conversations with different elected officials across the state that have had, and even the country, who have had. I think that one of the biggest topics is that kind of what Mr. Cotta had already mentioned too, is that there is no data center that is one size fits all, or that they're all the same, right? I think that the biggest pushback that we're seeing is with these hyperscale data centers that are just massive, right? That are like big corporation embedded with AI, trying to keep up. And I think that a lot of communities that got hit with those hyperscales weren't ready for that. And just to kind of put it in perspective, right? Some of like the local ones that have been going on for a long time, like one of the comparisons was like our phones. They use data centers, right? When we're out there watching Netflix and Hulu, that's all part. Hospitals, even cities, municipalities use part of data centers to kind of be able to function properly. And those we're talking about small ones, right? And so when we look in comparison, I know that the name that they shared was like an enterprise data center, and it was. Usually, the way that the research was, that I made was they don't use more than 10 megawatts for that data center. The ones that we're talking about, like the hyperscales, are about 50 megawatts and above. I mean, 1 megawatt can power up to 1,000 homes, right? So that kind of just gives you the scalability of how big this could be. And then the regional ones, which is the Quincy one. I mean, there was a lot of good talk talking about the Quincy one, and to me, I'm a firm believer of there's pros and cons, and I know that now as time has been given through this 20-year-old facility, I think that there's some environmental impact that we're beginning to see because these data centers do operate on diesel generators so that they're never out of power, right? So that study has been seen about it. Has there been some toxic fumes that have been released in the air? So there's some impacts there that maybe we can definitely see. So I think that I see this conversation as being proactive before somebody's knocking on our door and then we don't know what to do. I think that we should definitely provide some good limiting guardrails. I'm not sure about banning any of these things. Maybe our attorney can talk about, where there'll be some liabilities. Will somebody feel like, hey, the city of Pasco is discriminating against something? But I think that we can have a good conversation, maybe have some research, and have a presentation of what proper guardrails can we provide, what capacity do we have when it comes to like power, water, because that was the biggest component that it talked about. Just also give more numbers, right? So that facility in Quincy is over 530 square feet. 530 square feet. So that's a pretty mid-sized data center. They made it sound like it was more of a smaller one, but that's pretty mid-sized. And it was running at about 90 megawatts, right? So kind of understanding what we could provide and what we do. And I think a lot of folks aren't opposed to the small enterprise ones. And I can definitely say that in, talking to different individuals about this topic, but it's the hyperscale ones that, people are definitely opposed because they have a lot of, so it's too big and it's the technology is moving too quick. They talked about that too. It can become obsolete rather quickly because technology is moving rather quick. And I definitely think that, the more we have time with this AI and this technology, we're going to be able to do more with a smaller space. So there really isn't a need for these massive ones here. At least that's my opinion. But yeah, I definitely welcome more discussion. But I think that we can definitely provide good perimeters and guardrails here to ensure that our citizens are safe and protected in the environment and everything else in our resources as well.
Thank you for those comments. Let's go to Councilman Campos.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a hot topic. I think we'll want to make it first clear, whenever we discuss any type of issue, one of the first assumptions that, our city starts thinking is one coming, is one already here, is one already planned. So before I get to what I'm saying, I just want to make it clear, there's no one in the works right now. There's not one planned. There's not permits that are already showing for it. We just want to make sure that we are getting ahead to make sure that we understand that if one does try to come here, that we have the ordinance in place for that. With that said, I think because there is a lot of information that we still have to get, and obviously there's passionate people on both sides, I think it will be wise of us to do our due diligence of getting all that information, making sure we pause. I'm okay with putting certain regulations right now, but I'm more into the moratorium, just like 6 months, just completely stop everybody coming, and then allows us to really get some information and then plan everything from that. And so I just think it's just so important to the city. I don't know how many messages I got even this week just saying data center's coming, it's coming. I'm just like, no, brakes. We're just talking about if one should come in the future. But I think it's a very, very important topic, and so we have to give its due diligence of making sure we get the information, and we also give time for our community to give us feedback.
All right, kind of my thoughts exactly on that one, so thank you. Councilman Hernandez, do you want to say anything, or?
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay.
Moratorium, and it is, obviously, we need to be prepared in case we do have one wanting to come and have all the information in order to actually go forward with it or not.
So I appreciate your comments, and I think we're all on the assumption that we want to make sure that, with the rates of utility bills gone up in the last couple of years, everything's gone, seems like crazy. Whatever we can do as a council to try to make sure that these just don't go out of control and get people where they can't afford, to take a bath or whatever because they're so worried about their water bill. So again, we're just trying to come up with a plan before, and then maybe it never will, but if it does, we'd like to have a plan of action. I think that's what this, basically this moratorium is basically doing for us. So I appreciate it. So with that, let's see, now the light's on, so let's get a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4850, an ordinance of the City of Pasco, Washington, imposing a 6-month moratorium on the acceptance and processing of business license and/or development permit applications related to new data centers, cryptocurrency, mining facilities, blockchain computing facilities, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and other high-density computing facilities, setting forth preliminary findings in support of this moratorium, declaring an emergency, establishing an immediate effective date, authorizing publication by summary only, and directing staff to develop and return to City Council with recommended land use regulations addressing the permitting and licensing of these facilities within 6 months of adoption of the moratorium.
We have a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor by Councilman Perales. We got a second by Councilman Figueroa, which doesn't happen often. But can we get all those in favor say aye? Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, passes unanimously, 6-0. Let's go on to 9C, and that is resolution number 4766, Washington State University.
One thing, the air conditioner is not on.
Yes.
If we take like maybe a quick recess so that the staff can turn it on, maybe that would be worthwhile for all of us.
Do we know why? Because I know it was hot in the conference room at earlier meetings.
We just need to have a few minutes. If you want to go into recess, we need to find the control. It's working everywhere else in the building. We've got to figure out why it's not working in this room.
Okay. Let's take 5 minutes. Right now it's 8:11. We'll be back at 8:16. Hopefully we get the AC on. Thank you. It's 8:16, slightly cooler. So if we could all take the seats. All right, well, thank you for taking your seats. Looks like we have the whole council back. So 9C says resolution number 4766, Washington State University and City of Pasco for the use of body-worn camera footage for research purposes. So we're going to go to our Chief of Police, Brett Cook.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, before you do that, just to provide an update for the break. The AC controls are on. It should be working, but it's obviously not. So we tried to open up some doors to get some airflow and those kinds of things, and we'll have to get someone out to look at the AC and why it says it's on, but it's not working. So I apologize for the discomfort tonight.
Okay, well, thank you for that update. All right. We give the mic to Chief of Police, Brett Cook.
Hi. So, Council and Mayor Pro Tem, the resolution 4766, the agreement with Washington State University to share body-worn camera data and some other relevant data like our CAD stuff so that they can look into what our performance is looking like. And so we look forward to having that agreement refreshed. We've had an agreement with them since about 2022, and it's time to update those signatures and have the right people on the form.
All right, well, it always is important to have people look over and make sure that you guys are doing an outstanding job. I know I've always said you guys are top in the field as far as how you conduct yourselves, and very proud that you represent Pasco so well. But let's see if we have any members of the council that would like to make a comment or.
Yeah, just for the sake of public record, I know that at the workshop there are some concerns from some residents about confidentiality and stuff like that, but clearly it's not the first time that there's been this collaboration. So has there been any issues with body-worn camera footage and privacy with different folks or everything else? Could you just kind of speak to that for the public record?
Yeah, the question of privacy, the agreement clearly covers that, and we haven't had any problems at all with the students or the professors at WSU going through our cameras. They are doing a lot of coding, and so that it's pretty technical what they're doing. They're looking for specific behaviors, specific phrases that do that kind of thing. So I'm not concerned about that. And if we did have those, we would address those appropriately.
All right, well, thank you for that comment. All right, well, not seeing any other. Councilman Morales, can I get a motion?
Yes, I move to approve resolution 4766, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the city of Pasco and Washington State University for the use of Pasco Police Department body-worn camera footage for approved academic research purposes.
We got a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Second.
We got a motion on the floor by Councilman Morales. Got a second by Councilman Cotta. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, passes unanimously, 6-0. We're going to run on to 9D, resolution number 4767, approval for application to Public Works Board for pre-construction funding for the Butterfield WTP land acquisition. And this is going to be by Director Maria Serra.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. This item is very similar to other items you've seen in the past. We are preparing an application to support the purchase of land for the construction of the new Butterfield facility that will replace the aging water treatment plant for the city of Pasco. The proposal is to apply for $1 million in support of that acquisition, and that is the max award for pre-construction activities in this biennium. This is a low-interest loan, although City of Pasco qualifies for some forgivable principal, which effectively functions as a grant, and there will be a % within the award we hope to receive. The resolution you have in front of you allows us to submit the application, and it is a prerequisite of that application to include the resolution within our application. That's why it's in front of you. As you know, Public Works Board is a state entity, and it offers really low interest funding, and this is below 1%. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for the report. Do we have any members of the dais that would like to make a comment, or let's start off with Councilman Campos?
Just a comment. I mean, it's amazing. I'm going to be all for it. I mean, the interest rate's like 0.93%, and then we could get possibly a grant of up to 15%. So I think this is a no-brainer. So good job.
All right. Thank you for that comment. Not seeing any of the lights on, so let's jump to Councilman Perales.
I move to approve resolution number 4767, authorizing the submittal of a Public Works Board pre-construction loan application for the Butterfield WTP land acquisition.
All right, got a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Second.
I guess we'll give it to Cotta this time. So we got the second by Councilman Cotta. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those disapprove say nay. Again, passes unanimously 6-0. We're going to go to 9E, resolution number 4768, right-of-way dedication and reimbursement agreement. And we're going to go to Deputy City Manager, Rich Isidel.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. This item asks for your authorization for the city manager to execute a right-of-way dedication and reimbursement agreement with Big Sky Developers for an additional right-of-way along Convention Drive. This is not a new conversation. Many different council members and few different city managers have had this conversation in the last 4 years. And the challenge that we have in this particular area is the alignment of Burns Road and Convention Drive. The alignment is a little bit problematic, especially given Burns Road used to be called Powerline Road for a good reason. There's high voltage transmission lines that cost a lot to move, but they also are aligned right along the property boundaries, which requires us to be a little bit more creative on where the road goes. Usually the road goes half on one property boundary and half on the other. And the intersection that is currently misaligned, we explored every option, and each option that we examined had significant cost or risk. One of our former city engineers estimated that a city-led realignment would be at about $2 million. And then on top of that, there would be additional cost for the developers for as far north as we would go along Convention Drive to move those high voltage power lines. An estimate from the PUD was that to move one of those poles costs anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000. So an additional cost of development. So what staff and council have discussed is a novel approach of essentially the city buying the additional right of way in this particular site, and be able to essentially have a straight intersection on Burns and Convention. So with that, you will see the agreement attached to the staff report, where the city pays $8.85 per square foot at about an estimated $516,000. $500,000 of those dollars are already budgeted in city's biennium budget, and the developer would be responsible for all of the design, permitting, construction, all of it, and they would have to build the whole road to city standard. Another component that is unique about this that makes development a little bit difficult is the Convention Drive is also right along the donut hole in the city, and Convention Drive is a major parallel street to Road 68. So our goal of ensuring that there's proper network around Road 68, so it is not as stressed as it is right now. Convention Road is a major part of that network. With that, the The key here is the fiscal impact of $516,000. And while this is not ideal, to ensure that we have a proper, safely aligned road that is able to handle high volumes of traffic down the line, 20, 30 years, this is, as staff sees it, a good investment. And also it would prevent future developers or the current developer have to move significant amount of power lines that are dangerous to move as well. So with that, I'm open to any questions that you might have.
All right, well, thank you for that report, Mrs. Ziegdell. Anybody from the dais have any questions or comments? Got Councilman Prowse.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I'm glad we're tackling a problem before it becomes more expensive. Really, at the end of the day, this is something in that area that needs to be addressed. You know, we want to have our city better aligned in some of these spots, and especially in areas where maybe perhaps they didn't see growth coming. But no, this is great to do it before it becomes more expensive as well. So, nope, all in favor of this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. My sentiments exactly. Not seeing any other lights, so if I could get a motion, Councilman Prowse.
I move to approve resolution number 4768, authorizing the city manager to execute right-of-way dedication and reimbursement agreement with Big Sky Developers LLC, a Washington limited liability company, for additional right-of-way dedication along Convention Drive.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. Can we get a second? Second. All right, so we got a motion on the floor by Councilman Prowse. We have a second by Councilman Campos. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, passes unanimously 6-0. We're going to jump to 9F, resolution number 4769, targeted urban area TUA tax exemption program. And this is also going to be talked about by Deputy City Manager Richa Sidel.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This resolution is declaring the city's intent to designate portions of our industrial zones as targeted urban area and setting a public hearing for 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 8th. At that time, staff will bring all of the program details to council for review and also for the public to review and give their comments on.
All right, well, thank you for that report. Anybody on the dais have a comment or? All right, let's go with Councilman Cata.
Yeah, I mean, the tax exemption program is essential for competing, to bringing business here, especially when, it's a state allowed program. And so other countries have already, cities in the state have already implemented it. And so it's something we need here to be able to bring business in.
Good words, appreciate that. Anybody else? All right, moving right along. If I could add a motion, Mr. Prowse.
I move to approve resolution number 4769, declaring intent to designate portions of the city's industrial zones as a target urban area for the purpose of an industrial manufacturing tax exemption and establishing a public hearing on 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 8th, 2026.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Morales. Can we get a second? Second. All right, we got a second by Councilman Cata. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, passed unanimously 6-0. We're going to jump to number 10, unfinished business. We got 10A, agreement, Harris Road realignment agreement with VWA Pasco LLC, Visconsi for Broadmoor Development. And we're going to jump to City Manager Harold Stewart.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I did talk extensively about this at the last City Council meeting, so I don't really want to go into it a whole lot. Again, this is important road infrastructure that is needed as a piece and an element to the road network out in the Broadmoor development area. Working with the two developers that are looking at developing this area, particularly this first one, Visconsi, they need some commitment from the city about where this is going to go and what it's going to look like, so they can begin finalizing leases and deals and sales with a variety of different retailers in their first phase of development. So I would state publicly that this would be paid for out of the TIF bond revenues that the city already has. We do have funding there available. This is one of the eligible road projects within that TIF. And then the city would recoup its funding, or at least portions of its funding, through the transportation impact fees as the developers develop in this area. So other than that, there is no other financial incentives or tax rebates or anything else to support this development over there. I think that this first phase is a key element for the rest of the Broadmoor. This has been a dream that's been talked about by this community for several years, and I think this will be the domino that kind of breaks the dam, that once dirt starts moving and buildings start being constructed on this, there's going to be a flood of interest on both of these developers, and we're already seeing it actually. So anyway, we're asking council this evening for agreeing to this agreement with Wisconsin, that we are committing to realigning the Harris Road within a certain time frame so that they can have the security to move forward with securing their development agreements with their partners.
All right, thank you for that report. Do we have any comments or questions for our city manager, Harold Stewart? Not seeing you, so let's get a motion, Councilman Prowse.
I move that the city council authorize the city manager to execute the Harris Road realignment agreement with VWA-Pasco LLC, Wisconsin, in substantially in the form presented, with authority to make minor administrative or non-substantive revisions as may be necessary prior to execution.
We got a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, so let's give it to, we had a motion on the floor by Councilman Prowse. We go a second by Councilman Hernandez. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Again, passes unanimously 6-0. We're going to jump to number 11, new business. I'm not seeing anything listed. We'll jump to 12, miscellaneous discussion. We got a city manager report. So I'm going to take it away.
One item to report this evening, just a notice to the public that on August 4th, our police department will be participating in and celebrating its National Night Out. That'll be August 4th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. I know it's always a fun family event for many of our citizens to come out and get access to some resources that they may or may not be aware of, but also have some positive interaction with our fine police department and interact with our new police chief, but who's been with the department for 36, 37 years. But that will be held at the Pasco Sporting Complex out on Home Run Road. So look to our social media or our website for further information. But we invite all the public to come out and join us at National Night Out on August 4th. With that, that's the only thing I have to report tonight, unless council has any questions with regards to anything that's in the city manager report in the packet.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments? I'm not seeing any, and hopefully we could all be out there on August 4th. So with that, we're going to jump to number 13, which is executive session. I'm not seeing anything listed.
No need for executive session this evening.
All right, hallelujah on that one, because we are hot. Oh, we already did that. All right, well, do you want to read something? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we'll be real quick. We'll give Councilman Perales a second here to read something.
A constituent wanted me to read this to the council. She didn't really want to have to find everyone's council email and stuff. So, and this is in regards to fireworks. So, I'm not going to say who the individual is, but here we go. I'm writing to you now out of frustration with the fireworks. I have read information that may or may not be true that Pasco is considering implementing stricter enforcement on fireworks violations. I surely hope they do. Because something is needed. I will detail what is going on with me and the impact it is having. In January, I was diagnosed with a DCIS tumor, stage 0 to 1, but it was removed successfully with a simple procedure and surgery. I have had to undergo just 5 treatments of radiation. Those were completed by the end of May. The only complication I'm dealing with is radiation fatigue, and not being able to sleep at night is not helping me in my recovery. I am sure that there are many others who, like myself, really need to get a decent night's sleep, and we can't when it sounds like a war zone all around. Plus, it is so hard on my poor little dogs. They are terrified to even go through the door into their own yard. Yesterday, my older dog was hiding behind my feet, barking, and I put my hand on her to calm her and found that she was trembling violently. It isn't just right. It just isn't right to put little animals through torment like this in their own homes. And they are too afraid to go outside to do their business. I have had to mop more puddles in the last week than I have in months, ever since the younger one was housebroken. I have been watching what people have to say on Lewis Street Neighbors. There are many who are really frustrated and angry about the lack of consideration, and this is not even considering the fire danger. I heard there were 75 fires started from fireworks. They have all gotten out of control and or under control. But what if they hadn't? A friend lives in one of the older mobile home parks just before the Blue Bridge on 8th Street, and there were 2 fires just across the street from her. I know it's hard to catch them in the act, but I heard Pasco is considering levying fines against the owner of the property where fireworks are being set off, and the fine will be substantially enough to make people think twice. I have thought of a couple of crazy ideas, not very practical, but if the police department doesn't have enough manpower, then call the National Guard and have them out on the streets watching what is going on, where the noise is the worst, and then they might actually catch someone. So I just wanted to, that really touched me when she sent me that, and so I just wanted to share that with the rest of the council. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Well, with that being said, we are going to jump to number 14, which is the good one of the night, and that is adjournment. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I don't know if there's any faster than what Grim can do.